Warrior Lore. Chapter 27:19. Oh. Xiao Hua didn't understand Zhang Qingxiao's actions, but seeing these somewhat familiar spells, he felt strange. Isn't this similar to the spells used to refine the natal spiritual tablet? Sure enough, after waiting for a moment, Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hand and took out a pure white jade. She pointed at the red light that had turned into a ball of light and shouted, "Quick!" The red light immediately fell on the jade along with Zhang Qingxiao's spell. With a kachad sound, the pure white jade immediately glowed red. When the red light was annihilated, a pink natal spiritual tablet appeared in the air. "Junior sister, this is Luer's natal spiritual tablet. Take it." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand, and the natal spiritual tablet fell in front of Xiao Xinrui, saying, "If anything happens to Luer, this spiritual tablet will break. If it doesn't break, Luer will be fine. You can also be at ease." Xiao Xinrui's eyes showed a trace of gratitude. She took the spiritual tablet and looked at Zhang Qingxiao, saying, "Thank you for your care, second senior brother." After saying that, she carefully hid the spiritual tablet next to her body. "Oh, right, just now, Xiao Hua and I killed a disciple of the 100 Herbs sect in front of Yellow Flower Ridge. Chao Ming will definitely report the matter clearly," Zhang Qingxiao said again. "In addition, this Chao Ming is worth training. You should pay more attention to him in the future." "Yes, I understand." Xiao Xinrui nodded and stepped out of the restriction. From beginning to end, her eyes never looked back, never fell on Jiang Luer's body. However, just as she walked out of the restriction, tears flowed out again. Xiao Xinrui was a foundation establishment cultivator, but she was also a mother. How could she not be worried when her flesh and blood, who had been with her for nearly 10 years, suddenly left and had a difficult future? Although Xiao Hua promised that he would wake Jiang Luer up, Xiao Xinrui also believed that Xiao Hua would do his best. However, she always had a premonition in her heart that Jiang Luer would never be awakened so easily. In fact, this separation could very well be the final farewell between her and her own flesh and blood. Perhaps he would never see Jiang Luer again. Xiao Xinrui flew out of the herb garden, then flew out of Xihua Peak. However, after flying for several hundred feet, she suddenly turned around and rushed towards the restriction formation of the herb garden. However, when she landed within the restriction once again, it was already empty. Jiang Luer, Xiao Hua, and Zhang Qingxiao had already disappeared. Looking at the empty restriction, it was as empty as the emptiness in her heart. Xiao Xinrui couldn't help but cry. Her graceful figure collapsed on the ground. Where was the bearing of a foundation establishment cultivator? She really regretted it. Why couldn't she take another look at her son? Even if his son was in a meditative state, he was still by his side. Now, his son was no longer by his side. What was the use of having a divine connection cultivation base? Xiao Xinrui touched the spirit tablet she had hidden under her clothes. She had mixed feelings. She clenched her fists tightly as if she was clutching her own son, as if she had found someone to rely on. Are we really leaving like this? Xiao Hua held Jiang Luer in his hand, and his figure appeared in the air outside Yellow Flower Ridge. He said to Zhang Qingxiao, who was also slowly showing her figure, "Senior sister will definitely regret it later. Don't you want her to see Luer again?" We're just leaving for a few days. Why do we have to be separated by life and death? Is it interesting?" Zhang Qingxiao snorted and waved his hand. The black jade arrow boat landed in the air again. He said, "Let's go." "Where are you going?" "I'll send you there." At most, Luer will return to Yellow Flower Ridge in a few months. Xiao Hua didn't stand on ceremony. He flew onto the flying boat and placed Jiang Luer properly on it. He pointed to the east and said, "Let's go to Lian country." Lian country? Zhang Qingxiao was stunned. Why? Not in Shi country? Yes. Xiao Hua didn't explain and only agreed. Zhang Qingxiao activated the flying boat, but after flying for a while, he was in a dilemma again. If we go to Ming Kingdom or Shi Kingdom, it's easy. My heavenly demonic sect's teleportation array can also be used. But unfortunately, it's Shi country. My heavenly devil sect's teleportation formation isn't built well. If we don't use the teleportation formation of the sect and just rely on the flying boat, I'm afraid it'll take a lot of time. Lure. Can't eat. It's really troublesome. Xiaohua raised his eyebrows. As if he thought of something, he asked, what does your heavenly devil sect have that can hold living people? What do you mean? Zhang Qingxiao didn't understand. For example, a spirit storage bag. Xiaohua reached out and took out a spirit storage bag from his chest. During the Dao Sword War, I once put the disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect into this spirit storage bag. Spirit storage bag? Zhang Qingxiao was shocked. Although this spirit storage bag can hold spirit beasts, the space inside is very strange. The formation is also unstable. Even the spiritual qi is limited, especially Lure. He can't breathe and still needs to breathe. Putting him in this spirit storage bag, can he live for long? Let's not talk about this first. Do you think it's possible or not? Xiaohua asked. If it's possible, you and I will use the teleportation formation and put Lure in this spirit storage bag for the time being. Zhang Qingxiao thought for a moment and nodded. It should be possible, but it can't be for too long. Otherwise, it'll be easy for Lure to suffocate to death. That's good. Xiaohua nodded. If it's really a critical moment, we'll have to act at our own discretion. Sigh, okay. Zhang Qingxiao, who had always made people feel that she was omnipotent, sighed and agreed helplessly. After flying for another half a day, Xiaohua suddenly pointed in the direction of the Imperial Thunder Sect and said in a negotiating tone, Second senior brother, now that we're not too far away from the Imperial Thunder Sect, why don't you send me to the Sky Thunder Peak? What? You miss your Imperial Thunder Sect? Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. What about Zhang Lure? Didn't you make a solemn vow earlier? Now you've changed your mind? Lure's situation can't be solved in a short time. You and I have to find someone to help. Moreover, looking at Lure's situation, there's not much change. Going to the Imperial Thunder Sect is just a matter of convenience. You don't have to bully me like this. Xiaohua said coldly. Anyway, you promised in front of junior sister. Not me. Zhang Qingxiao slightly turned the bow and flew in the direction of the Imperial Thunder Sect. From Yellowflower Ridge to the Sky Thunder Peak, it naturally took more than a few days. During this period, Zhang Qingxiao steered the boat and Xiaohua carefully comprehended the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita. At the same time, they also paid attention to Zhang Lure's situation. There were no obvious changes, so they were slightly relieved. Seeing that they were about to arrive at the Sky Thunder Peak, Zhang Qingxiao stopped the flying boat in midair and said coldly, Your new sect is about to arrive. You don't need me to personally send you to the mountain gate, right? Of course not. Xiaohua said with a smile. However, it's not convenient for me to use my messaging charm in the Imperial Thunder Sect. Second senior brother, can I ask Di Hongshan of the Thunder Palace's Myriad Thunder Valley to come out? Hee. You also know that you're a member of the Sword Battle. You can't casually return to the Imperial Thunder Sect without permission. I thought you didn't know this. Zhang Qingxiao sneered. Your messaging charm is not useful, but I can freely enter and leave the Sky Thunder Peak? Do you think that Qian Lazy is a decoration? Do you think that Fairy Xianhua and the other palace masters are all in seclusion? Hee. Xiaohua didn't get angry and said with a smile, Second senior brother, you're the sect master of the Heavenly Demon Sect. Don't tell me that you don't have any spies in the Imperial Thunder Sect. Don't tell me that you don't have a secret technique to inform the disciples of the Heavenly Demon Sect in the Imperial Thunder Sect. You. Zhang Qingxiao was angry. You're not the deputy sect master of my Heavenly Demon Sect. Why should my disciples listen to you? Hee. I just said a few words to Cui Hongshan. Second senior brother, you don't need to be so calculative, right? Xiaohua said with a smile. Okay. Zhang Qingxiao didn't feel like talking to Xiaohua anymore. She took a step into the air, and her figure slowly disappeared. After a long while, Zhang Qingxiao returned and threw a jade slip. Go to this place and wait for your junior brother Cui. Hee. Many thanks, second senior brother, Xiaohua said and took the jade slip. His figure also slowly disappeared. Damn it, this guy is not the deputy sect master of my Heavenly Demon Sect. He's even better than the deputy sect master of my Heavenly Demon Sect. Zhang Qingxiao looked at the place where Xiaohua disappeared and scolded. Not only did he use my heavenly demon sect's disciples as his own disciples, he's even more familiar with the devil world concealment technique than I, the sect master of the heavenly demon sect. If you say you're not a devil cultivator, I won't believe it. Xiao Hua flew for about a dozen miles, and his figure landed on the foothills of a mountain. He took out the jade slip and looked at it carefully. He looked at it for a long time, and only when he could confirm it did he close his eyes and sit down cross-legged. After an hour, two hesitant figures flew over from the distant horizon. They were Cui Hongshan and Dui Qimeng. Xiao Hua naturally saw them. He frowned and a trace of doubt flashed through his eyes. Dui Qimeng, why is she here? This heavenly demon sect's disciple is really unreliable. Xiao Hua didn't let the other people from the Myriad Thunder Valley come out to see him because he was afraid that they would leak some information. Cui Hongshan's mind was 10 times more lively than the rigid Xiangyang. If he called him out, he should be able to keep it a secret. However, if Dui Qimeng of the Lightning Conversion Palace was added, wouldn't his plan fail? However, Xiao Hua pondered for a moment, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile again. He thought to himself, since she's here, then, as her senior brother, I have to show my gratitude again. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qimeng's divine senses swept over and saw that it was actually Xiao Hua. Their doubtful faces couldn't help but be filled with ecstasy. They looked at each other and used the lightning escape technique to fly towards Xiao Hua. Second senior brother, why is it really you? Cui Hongshan shouted from afar. The joy in his voice was definitely from the bottom of his heart. Dui Qimeng, who was beside him, didn't shout, but her face was flushed red. She actually looked shy. You're here. Xiao Hua stood up with a smile and waved his hand, indicating for them to descend. He asked, what took you so long? -11. Chapter 27:20. Greetings, senior martial brother. Dui Qimeng landed and bowed. Without waiting for Cui Hongshan to speak, she said, Hongshan was meditating in his residence when he received a strange message talisman. It only said that the person closest to us was waiting here and wanted him to come alone. However, it didn't say who it was. It also said that this matter couldn't be told to Master's wife, senior martial brother, and senior martial brother. Otherwise, it would be harmful to the person waiting here. It even said that it would be harmful to our Myriad Thunder Valley. We thought for a long time but couldn't guess who it was. Originally, we didn't want to come, but we were afraid of delaying something. Little brother almost wanted to take this message talisman to Thunderclap Palace. Cui Hongshan said with a smile. The tone inside was really too big. It said that if little brother leaked the news, dozens of lives of our Myriad Thunder Valley would be taken as compensation. AI? Xiao Hua sighed. Needless to say, wasn't this Zhang Qingxiao's way of doing things? However, this concubine suddenly thought of a possibility. Dui Qimeng said with a smile. Who else but second senior martial brother could have such a powerful ability and such a mysterious way of doing things? Since it's second senior martial brother won't be angry that this concubine accompanied my husband here, right? Qimeng was afraid that little brother would lose something, so I still accompanied him here. Please forgive me, second senior martial brother. Cui Hongshan said hurriedly. Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand, saying, it's fine. This Xiao didn't expect that the two of you had already held the dual cultivation ceremony. This is this Zhao's fault. At this point, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something and asked curiously, oh right, you said that dozens of lives of our Myriad Thunder Valley would be taken as compensation. Does our Myriad Thunder Valley have many disciples now? Ha ha ha, really? Cui Hongshan said with a smile, our Thunderclap sect has lost many disciples in the Great Tao Cultivator War for nearly 10 years. Lord Sect Master is widely accepting disciples. Little brother and senior martial brother have each accepted 4 or 5 disciples. In total, there are close to 20 people. Good. Xiao Hua nodded. If our Myriad Thunder Valley can recruit suitable disciples, then we can gradually develop in the future. Myriad Thunder Valley's position in Thunderclap Palace will also slowly rise. Don't worry, senior brother. Dui Qimeng smiled. Now that eldest senior brother and brother Chui are both working in the Thunderclap Palace, they're gradually rising to important positions. The Myriad Thunder Valley is already famous because of eldest senior brother's achievements in the Sky Patrol City. There are countless disciples who want to join the Myriad Thunder Valley. That's right. Every year, when Dui Lei Palace and Jin Lei Palace select disciples, eldest senior brother and I are always at the top of the list. Many blood-related disciples of other Thunder Palaces have also informed me in advance. Cui Hongshan said in high spirits, in my opinion, we should recruit a dozen or so disciples every year. My 10,000 Thunder Valley will grow stronger in just a few years. Dui Qiming covered her mouth and laughed. It's all this concubine's fault. Senior Martial Brother had yet to return to the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Now, there were only eldest Martial Brother and Cui Lang in the valley. If they recruited too many people, they might not be able to handle it. Moreover, there are no rules for recruiting disciples nowadays. I don't know which disciple's physique is suitable. It's better to have nothing than to have something substandard. Xiao Hua listened with interest. He looked at Cui Hongshan and then at Dui Qiming. He felt that the two of them complemented each other and were very knowledgeable about the development of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. I'll leave the development of the 10,000 Thunder Valley to the two of you, Xiao Hua said with a smile. I've never liked these trivial matters. An eldest senior Martial Brother is also very dull. It's already good that he can do some things in Deafening Thunder Palace. Master. Oh, how are Master and Master's wife? Although Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming didn't say much, they were all about the development of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Xiao Hua was concerned about the situation of these few people and only mentioned Xiang Yang. Master had already planned to go into seclusion when we went out to battle. However, he waited until, when you and I were trapped in the great formation of Mount Quanjin. Only then did he decide to go into seclusion. When helplessness was mentioned, a hint of worry appeared on Cui Hongshan's face. It's already been several years, but he still hasn't come out of seclusion. What seclusion? Is he trying to break through to the Gold Core realm? Xiao Hua was shocked and asked anxiously. Yes, Master. Is trying to break through to the Gold Core realm. Dui Qiming also said helplessly. What happened to us was a huge blow to Master. He felt that our 10,000 Thunder Valley was being bullied because we didn't have a Gold Core Realm cultivator. It's already been several years. Xiao Hua was already a Gold Core Realm cultivator now and knew the dangers and difficulties of condensing a gold core. He himself had successfully condensed a gold core with the help of the Sword Tomb. If it was someone else, condensing a gold core out of thin air in the Dantian was really a kind of comprehension from nothing. It definitely wasn't as simple as condensing true qi into true essence. Master's life tablet has always been safe and sound. Cui Hongshan said hurriedly. Master's wife goes to the Jade Archive Hall every month to check. And what about the others? Xiao Hua sighed. He was helpless that he couldn't condense a gold core at the beginning of his seclusion. It had already been several years. Who knew when he would be able to condense a gold core again? Senior Martial Brother and eldest Senior Martial Brother have both reached the peak of the middle stage of Foundation Establishment and are about to cultivate to the late stage of Foundation Establishment. However, eldest Senior Martial Brother is a bit busy, so he's lagging behind Senior Martial Brother. Cui Hongshan thought for a moment and said, on the other hand, Li Er's progress is very fast. He's already at the 6th level of Qi refining, right? He's grown up now and rarely returns to Myriad Thunder Valley. Sometimes, when he comes back, he stays in his cave and meditates. Little brother also rarely sees him. 6th level of Qi refining. Dui Qiming curled her lips and said with a smile, I think I heard eldest Senior Martial Brother say a few days ago that Li Er is already at the 7th level of Qi refining. It's been a long time. For your husband, how can I clearly distinguish between the 5th, 6th, and 7th levels of Qi refining? Cui Hongshan grinned. What about Master's wife? Xiao Hua asked again. Master's wife is currently educating Wuqing. Her cultivation hasn't undergone any significant changes. Dui Qiming giggled. Wuqing? Master accepted another disciple? Oh, that's not right. Is it Master's wife's new disciple? Xiao Hua was slightly stunned, but he suddenly understood. It's not Master's wife's disciple, and it's also not Master's disciple. Ha ha ha. Cui Hongshan laughed loudly and said, "Take a guess." How could I? Xiao Hua was just about to say that he didn't know, but when he saw Dui Qiming's originally calm face blush again, he suddenly realized something. He slapped his forehead and said, "Look at me. I forgot about this matter. Congratulations to Junior Marshal Brother Cui and Junior Marshal Sister Dui. I also have to congratulate Master and Master's wife." Hee hee. Cui Hongshan looked at Dui Qiming with a smile. Dui Qiming lowered her head and said, "This is all thanks to Senior Marshal Brother's help. This concubine is endlessly grateful to Senior Marshal Brother." Suddenly, Xiao Hua understood why Dui Qiming kept calling him Senior Marshal Brother and not Second Senior Marshal Brother like Cui Hongshan. Second Senior Marshal Brother, Cui Hongshan continued, "Our myriad Thunder Valley has undergone great changes. You should return with little brother. Wuqing is now a dying child, and Yingying can now barely walk. If you return, Master's wife and the others will definitely be very happy. Our myriad Thunder Valley can be considered reunited." Seeing that Cui Hongshan valued the myriad Thunder Valley so much, Xiao Hua's heart also relaxed. It was not in vain that he had supported him. However, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Haha, the myriad Thunder Valley situation is really not bad. It's a pity that the Great Dao Cultivator War is not over yet. Brother can only return to Shi country occasionally for official business and can't casually return to the Imperial Thunder sect." Look at me. Cui Hongshan imitated Xiao Hua and hit his forehead. Little brother was too happy to see Second Senior Marshal Brother and neglected this matter again. If Second Senior Marshal Brother could return, how could you still meet little brother here? Haha, that's right. Xiao Hua smiled and nodded. The blush on Dui Qiming's face gradually faded. Looking at Xiao Hua's unhurried appearance, she realized that he was far from the bearing he had when he left Sky Patrol City. However, she didn't dare to recklessly use a spell to probe Xiao Hua's cultivation. Moreover, she also understood that even if she did, she would definitely not be able to find out Xiao Hua's true cultivation. After thinking for a while, Dui Qiming said softly, "Senior Marshal Brother, this concubine has been to Sunlei Palace. Oh? How's Xue Xue's situation?" Xiao Hua was very gratified by Dui Qiming's thoughtfulness and asked with a smile, "She's already cultivated to the middle stage of foundation establishment?" Hee hee, I'll let Senior Marshal Brother know. Dui Qiming chuckled. According to Junior Marshal Sister Sun Shu, Xue Xue has been cultivating in seclusion. The last time she came out for a short rest, her cultivation has already reached the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. She's really catching up to eldest Senior Marshal Brother Xiangyang. Senior Marshal Brother has fallen behind Senior Marshal Sister Xue Xue. Xiao Hua was very shocked. Why is she cultivating so hard? That's right. Xue Xue's foundation establishment was even after Xiao Hua's. Moreover, she had only built her foundation for about 20 years. How could she possibly rush to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment in such a short time? To an ordinary cultivator, this was close to 80 to 90 years of bitter cultivation. No matter how good Xue Xue's aptitude was, she couldn't possibly surpass Fairy Hong Xia by that much, right? Fairy Hong Xia's cultivation was only at the middle and late stage of foundation establishment. How could Xue Xue catch up to Fairy Hong Xia in such a short time? Look at what Senior Marshal Brother is saying. Dui Qiming said unhappily. Senior Marshal Sister Xue Xue's foundation is extremely good, and she also has a famous teacher to guide her. Naturally, it's natural for her to cultivate to the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. Don't tell me that we can only let Senior Marshal Brother's cultivation increase, and the rest of us have to fall behind you? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. How could this be compared? If cultivation was this fast, then what was the use of the so-called bitter cultivation? How could the so-called Dao Heart and Dao Foundation be complete and solid? Junior Marshal Sister, if there's a chance, let Senior Marshal Sister meet Xue Xue. Xiao Hua thought for a while and said, when Xue Xue entered the Imperial Thunder sect, Senior Marshal Sister was already at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Now, She's still at the peak of the middle stage of foundation establishment. She hasn't broken through yet. Actually, sometimes, breaking through too hastily might not be a good thing. Without a solid Tao foundation, it's impossible to walk too far on the great Tao. Yes, this concubine understands. Dui Qiming's heart trembled as she nodded. -11. Chapter 27-21. By the way, second senior brother, why did you return to Xi? Cui Hongshan asked again. More than a month ago, more than 50,000 disciples of my Imperial Thunder Sect went to Sky Patrol City under the lead of Spiritual Master Mi Yu and Spiritual Master Quangtian. If there are no accidents, the remaining disciples of Sky Patrol City will return before the new year. Second senior brother, now? Spiritual Master Mi Yu? Xiao Hua was stunned. Sect leader didn't go? Sect leader is in seclusion, trying to break through to the late nascent soul stage. Cui Hongshan's eyes flashed with a trace of fanaticism. When sect leader comes out, my Imperial Thunder Sect will also have a late nascent soul stage sect leader, and we will be on par with Shanghua Sect and other sects. Oh, I see. Xiao Hua nodded slightly. He naturally thought of the thunder-devouring bead that he occasionally thought of before. However, he immediately asked again, by the way, who is that spiritual master Quangtian? Which teacher has advanced to the nascent soul stage? This person. Others may not know, but how can senior brother not know? Cui Hongshan naturally thought of his ignorance when he first reached the foundation establishment stage and smiled bitterly. It's an old friend of senior brother from Qinlei Palace. Qinlei Palace? Oh, I understand. Xiao Hua smiled. Quangtian, Gantian. Aren't they both Tian? Even if Gantian sect has reached the nascent soul stage, they still use Tian as their Taoist name. How arrogant. But then, Xiao Hua asked curiously, if spiritual master Quangtian went to Sky Patrol City, then what about Qin Diheng? Haha, what do you think? Senior brother. Dui Qiming smiled as if she was well aware of this matter. Yes, senior Quangtian went to Sky Patrol City, so naturally he brought Qin Diheng with him. With him there, how could anything happen to Qin Diheng? I'm afraid that any military exploits would fall like leaves, so there's no need for a tea house. Xiao Hua said in a low voice. Tea house? Cui Hongshan looked at Dui Qiming and was somewhat puzzled. Dui Qiming naturally knew that Xiao Hua wouldn't talk nonsense, but she didn't ask much, and the shock in her eyes didn't even appear. Xiao Hua was just about to ask another question when he suddenly raised his head slightly and looked to the side. He paused for a moment before he smiled bitterly and said, All right, let's not talk about anything else. A fellow Taoist is urging me to return earlier. There are other fellow Taoists? Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming were even more baffled. When they first came, they were already very careful and looked around. Other than Xiao Hua, there was no one else. How could there be anyone else? Of course, the two of them instantly understood that the cultivation of these so-called fellow cultivators was definitely not something they could compare to. Xiao Hua didn't care about the astonishment on the two's faces. He stretched out his hand and pulled out several storage bags from his bosom, handing them to Cui Hongshan. Junior brother Cui, these are the spoils of war from this battle and the rewards for your contributions. Take them and give them to Master's wife when the time is right. Second senior brother. Cui Hongshan looked at these storage bags, but didn't reach out his hand. Instead, he shook his head and said, These are senior brother's things, not my myriad Thunder Valleys. Senior brother can take them yourself. Moreover, because of senior brother's battle achievements, the sect and Thunder Palace have already rewarded you quite a bit. I'm afraid it's not appropriate to take senior brother's personal belongings now. I told you to take them, so take them. Xiao Hua tossed his hand to Cui Hongshan and said, When did you learn to be like eldest senior brother? I'm all alone and don't need so many things. You take them and use them to develop my myriad Thunder Valley. Yes, junior brother understands. Cui Hongshan helplessly took them and was about to hand them to Dui Qiming, but Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and said, Take these for yourself. Senior brother has something else for Qiming. Oh? Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming both stared blankly. However, Cui Hongshan was very obedient and put away these storage bags. Xiao Hua took out 2 more storage bags from his bosom and handed them to Dui Qiming. He transmitted a few words. Dui Qiming stared blankly at first, and a slight awkwardness appeared on her face. However, she immediately bit her lips, and her eyes flashed with brilliance. She nodded slightly and took the storage bags. She bowed towards Xiao Hua and transmitted a few more words. Hee, okay, there are some good things inside. Senior brother won't take them out one by one. You'll have to trouble yourself. Give them to Wu Qing and Cui Ying. Take it as a greeting gift from me, your martial uncle. That Wu Qing can't be called martial uncle. He can only be called senior brother. Xiao Hua suddenly realized, yes, this concubine understands. This concubine will definitely take care of this matter. Dui Qiming's tone became even more humble. Okay, let's not talk about anything else. After the battle, senior brother will come back to see you. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and didn't have anything else to say. He cupped his hands and flew into the distance. Farewell, senior brother. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming bowed respectfully. When the two stood up again and looked up, Xiao Hua's figure was nowhere to be seen in the air. The two naturally didn't use their divine senses to search. Cui Hongshan smiled bitterly and said, Wife, this second senior brother is becoming more and more mysterious. Our hibernating lightning escape has already made some progress, but compared to second senior brother, it's still far behind. Haha, it's not just that. Dui Qiming laughed and said, Back when we were in Sky Patrol City, we couldn't compare to senior brother. Our foundation establishment cultivation base, and everything we have now is given to us by senior brother. Do you think you can compare to senior brother? Husband indeed can't compare to senior brother, but I can compare to others. Cui Hongshan said proudly and slowly flew up with Dui Qiming. Since husband has such ambition, this concubine will definitely help you. Dui Qiming's mood was obviously very good. She even glanced in the direction Xiao Hua flew and whispered, It's a pity that senior brother's cultivation is so high, but he clearly isn't the kind of person who can make decisions. If he has the heart, yes, second senior brother's cultivation is really mysterious. Cui Hongshan said with a smile, It seems like second senior brother really knows about Li Er's tricks. Perhaps it was second senior brother who taught him. Now, we can go and report to senior brother. Yes. Senior brother has always found it strange that Li Er's cultivation hasn't improved for nearly 10 years. He thought that he had encountered some insurmountable obstacle. He was always fretting at the side and didn't dare to ask directly. He insisted that we ask. Li Er is a person who has his own opinions. How could he possibly tell us? Dui Qiming also said with a smile. Moreover, husband said Li Er's progress is amazing. He's already at 6th level of Qi refinement, right? Senior brother didn't have any doubts and directly nodded. Is there any need to say more? He must know that his realm and cultivation don't match. He must have taught Li Er this kind of secret technique. No matter how well I said it, it's not as good as what you said. I seem to have heard from senior brother a few days ago that Li Er is already at the 7th level of Qi refinement. It's as if senior brother really asked you. Cui Hongshan said happily, I remember that Li Er was already at the 7th level of Qi refinement before the war. Since you pointed it out so clearly, how could second senior brother not understand? Yes, senior brother really has too many divine abilities. His cultivation, to tell you the truth, even now, I can't figure it out. Dui Qiming then teased Cui Hongshan. Back then, you still put on airs in front of senior brother and thought that you were amazing just because you built your foundation. Looking at it now, you were just a joke in senior brother's eyes back then. So what if I'm a joke? He's your husband's senior brother. Even if it's a bit embarrassing, as your junior brother, I'm not afraid of losing face. Cui Hongshan said with a smile. Good. Dui Qiming praised. Since husband thinks this way, senior brother's planning for you wasn't in vain. Xiao Hua had indeed done a lot for Cui Hongshan, so Xiao Hua was worthy of Dui Qiming's praise. Cui Hongshan didn't hear any other meaning. Oh, wait a moment. Husband wants to see what good things second senior brother brought back from Myriad Thunder Valley, Cui Hongshan said and took out a storage bag from his chest. Dui Qiming didn't mind and said with a smile, "When you and I returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect that day, Senior Brother already gave us a lot of things. Even Senior Brother was stunned. Now, there's no need to talk about it, ah?" While Dui Qiming was speaking, Cui Hongshan had already opened one of the storage bags. He couldn't help but exclaim after scanning it with his divine perception. "What?" Dui Qiming was stunned. "Senior Brother, what's back? You. Take a look for yourself." Cui Hongshan handed the storage bag to Dui Qiming and took out a few more. Dui Qiming took them curiously and scanned them with her divine perception. Her eyes flashed with the same surprise as she whispered, Why are there so many? Not only that, Cui Hongshan's expression was strange as he handed the other storage bags to Dui Qiming. "There's more in these few. Heavens, did Senior Brother go to fight?" Dui Qiming slapped her forehead and said in confusion, "We went to Sky Patrol City and almost lost our lives in the hands of sword cultivators. Although we received a reward in the end, how can it compare to Senior Brother's things? How did he get so many spirit herbs, flying swords, jade slips, and Dharma artifacts? Everything else aside, these spirit herbs and Dharma artifacts are suitable for use." Cui Hongshan smiled happily and said, "My myriad Thunder Valley doesn't produce spirit herbs and has very few Dharma artifacts. Our disciples lack these. With second Senior Brother's Dharma artifacts, I'm afraid it won't be a problem to collect another 100 or 80. Senior Brother didn't go to fight with sword cultivators." Dui Qiming nodded and handed the storage bag to Cui Hongshan. "Senior Brother went to collect the storage bags of sword cultivators." "Haha, that's right. Senior Brother is so stingy." Cui Hongshan laughed happily and was about to put the storage bag away when he suddenly thought of something and turned to ask Dui Qiming, "That's right, second Senior Brother. Where's the storage bag he gave you? What's inside? Why are you being so secretive and not even letting your husband know?" "Hee. This is a little secret between Senior Brother and I." Dui Qiming smiled so widely that her eyebrows curved. She couldn't help but take out the storage bag and wave it in front of Cui Hongshan. "SK. If you don't want to say, then don't say." How could Cui Hongshan be angry with Xiaohua? He carefully put away the storage bags while Dui Qiming curiously opened the storage bag. Even though she had already seen the other storage bags, she couldn't help but have an extremely strange expression in her eyes. It was as if there was something amazing inside. "Wife." Seeing Dui Qiming's expression, Cui Hongshan became even more curious and was about to sweep his divine perception over. However, at that moment, a sharp golden core divine perception swept over from the west. "Quickly put it away," Cui Hongshan hurriedly urged. Dui Qiming was also startled. Fearing that extreme joy would turn into sorrow, she hurriedly put the storage bag away. Then, the two didn't dare to fly forward and waited respectfully in midair. In less than half a cup of tea's time, a white-haired golden core old woman flew over from the west like lightning. It was the famous awakening thunder escape of the Imperial Thunder Sect. When Cui Hongshan saw this old woman, he couldn't help but frown. The respect on his face became even more intense. When the old woman came close, he hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior Cui Hongshan greets Hall Master Zhen." "Oh, why is this guy here?" Dui Qiming was also shocked. She knew that this person was the Hall Master of the Thunderous Thunder Palace's Thunderous Thunder Hall, Jin Mingwan. Her husband, Cui Hongshan, held a position in the Thunderous Thunder Hall. He was responsible for assigning odd jobs and collecting medicinal pills and spirit stones. These matters involved the supply of spirit stones to various places in the Thunderous Thunder Palace. It was an important position in the Thunderous Thunder Palace. Generally speaking, it was the responsibility of the Thunderous Thunder Palace's direct disciples. However, because Cui Hongshan had led the Thunderous Thunder Sect's first team this time, he was assigned this position. -11. Chapter 27-22. Although Cui Hongshan was very happy when he talked about his important position in front of Xiaohua, the hardships he faced were only known to himself and only revealed when he occasionally talked about it in front of Dui Qiming. Therefore, Dui Qiming knew that Cui Hongshan was having a hard time in Shuale Hall. In fact, it was simple. Shua Lei Hall's various interests had already formed a pattern. Wouldn't myriad Thunder Valley's interference disrupt the internal situation? Who knew how many people were eyeing Cui Hongshan's current position? Many of the Bright Thunder Hall's disciples were dissatisfied with Cui Hongshan, whether in the dark or in the open, and some even attacked him. As the hallmaster of Shualei Hall, the Zhenming Yuan didn't have any special actions against Cui Hongshan, but Cui Hongshan had long sensed her dissatisfaction with him. Cui Hongshan wanted to curry favor with the Zhenming Yuan, but after being rebuffed a few times, he gave up. Now that he saw the Zhenming Yuan appear, how could he not complain in his heart? Dui Qiming naturally saw Cui Hongshan's frown. Oh, what are you waiting here for? The Zhenming Yuan didn't intend to stop, but Cui Hongshan was already waiting for her. Thinking about Cui Hongshan's battle achievements, the Zhenming Yuan looked at him impatiently and asked, "Yes, Hallmaster. This subordinate just finished the task you ordered and brought Qiming to walk around," Cui Hongshan said respectfully. "And not bad." The Zhenming Yuan nodded slightly and said, "However, this old one has discussed with the Vice Hall Master about the distribution of spirit stones. We still need to adjust it again. Wait until this old one has thought it through before I tell you." After saying that, the Zhenming Yuan got up and was about to fly away. Cui Hongshan felt bitter. He had racked his brains for the distribution of spirit stones and finally completed it according to the Zhenming Yuan's wishes. Now, he had to do it all over again. Truly, but what could he say? He bowed and said, "Farewell, Hallmaster." Dui Qiming suddenly smiled and said, "Hallmaster Zhen, this junior heard that Shenling just accepted a disciple with both lightning and fire attributes? Congratulations, senior." "Well, he's just a disciple. There's no need to congratulate him." Zhenling was the youngest female disciple of the Zhenming Yuan. She was also the disciple that the Zhenming Yuan liked the most. For the Zhenming Yuan, it was naturally a joyous occasion for the Zhenming Yuan. However, how could the Zhenming Yuan reveal its joy in front of Dui Qiming? The vibrating bird only paused for a moment before it was about to fly away. "Please wait a moment, Hallmaster Zhen," Dui Qiming said anxiously. Cui Hongshan, who was standing at the side, was somewhat puzzled. He truly didn't understand why Dui Qiming was so talkative today. He couldn't help but shoot a glance at Dui Qiming, afraid that she would say something she shouldn't. "What is it?" The vibrating Kryl wand didn't stop and didn't give Dui Qiming a chance at all. She said coldly, "This old one still has important matters to attend to in the hall. If you have any urgent matters, you can report them to the Thunder Flash Hall." "Hall Master." Dui Qiming hastily reached into her bosom and took out an item. She respectfully handed it over with a smile. When Hong Xian heard that senior sister Zhenling had obtained a fine disciple, he had already told this junior to prepare a meeting gift for that child. However, because my myriad Lightning Valley didn't have anything good, and Hongshan was busy with the Thunder Flash Hall's affairs, he couldn't be distracted. This is a flying sword that belonged to a sword cultivator from the Hong country. This junior just obtained it. Hongshan said yesterday that he wanted to give it to senior, but, as she spoke, Dui Qiming elbowed Cui Hongshan. Although Cui Hongshan didn't understand, he was still able to explain himself. He immediately said, "This junior was so confused by the distribution of spirit stones that I forgot about it long ago. If not for Qiming's reminder, this junior wouldn't have thought of it." As he spoke, Cui Hongshan scanned the flying sword with his spiritual sense and smiled. Although this flying sword isn't of the highest quality, it still belongs to a drawing sword swordsman. The sword spirit inside hasn't been erased, so it's an excellent gift for senior sister Zhenling's disciple. The best part is, this flying sword contains lightning. If Hall Master refines it a little, it will be an excellent treasure, Dui Qiming added. The Thunder Flash sect wasn't an expert in refining weapons, and flying swords were the specialty of the Hong country's sword cultivators. Even the Changbai sect couldn't compare. Many cultivators from the 3 cultivation countries yearned to obtain a flying sword from the Hong country in this great battle. Of course, most of the flying swords that fell into the hands of the Dao sect cultivators were from the nurturing sword swordsmen. Only a few of them were from the drawing sword swordsmen. As for the flying sword in Dui Qiming's hand, it was from the drawing sword swordsman. Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming couldn't tell, but the vibrating Krylwan did. Her eyes couldn't help but flash with astonishment. What moved her even more was what Dui Qiming had said. This flying sword contained the power of thunder and lightning. With a little refinement, it could become a high-grade magic weapon. Not to mention a disciple who had just joined the sect, even if it was given to Zhenling or herself, it would be suitable. Of course, the vibrating Krylwan wasn't as foolish as Xiang Yang to think that this flying sword was for Zhenling's disciple. Thus, the vibrating Krylwan smiled and said, "You're all very considerate. That child is only at the 4th layer of Qi refining. How can he control this flying sword? Any random magic tool would do. Why would he need such a precious item?" Haha, Hall Master, you're right. Dui Qiming smiled. Although this child has just started Qi refining, under Senior Sister Zhenling's guidance, he will soon reach Foundation Establishment. What use is this flying sword? Moreover, he has been trying to control flying swords since he was young. When he reaches Foundation Establishment, he will be able to strengthen his connection with the flying sword. This child's future cultivation will definitely not be inferior to Senior Sister Zhenling's. Haha, I'll be counting on your auspicious words. The vibrating Krylwan beamed. Dui Qiming's words seemed to have hit the bottom of her heart. However, she still shook her head and said, "This old one will talk to Zhenling about this matter. This old one appreciates your kind intentions. However, this item is truly precious. Myriad Thunder Valley also has disciples, so it's better to give it to them." When Dui Qiming heard this, he knew that there was hope. He took a step forward and bowed. "Honorable Hall Master, although this junior doesn't have many opportunities to meet Hall Master, I've long heard Hong Shun speak of Senior's noble character and unquestionable integrity. I truly admire Senior. This junior's actions today are indeed somewhat abrupt, but this is indeed a little bit of this junior's feelings, a little bit of this junior's admiration for Senior. If Senior doesn't accept it, how can this junior see Senior in the future? So it's like this." Seeing that Dui Qiming had already handed the flying sword over to her, the vibrating Krylwan frowned and said, "Since you're so considerate, if this old one doesn't accept it, it would truly be unreasonable. This old one can only reluctantly accept it." Yes. Senior, please understand this junior's painstaking efforts." Dui Qiming was overjoyed and respectfully handed over the flying sword. The vibrating Krylwan took the flying sword and shook its hand slightly. A brilliant light flashed on the flying sword, and the sparkling purple lightning threads were faintly discernible within the flying sword. "Good," the vibrating Krylwan couldn't help but praise. It looked up at Dui Qiming and said, "This old one thanks you on behalf of Zhenling." "No need to thank us, no need to thank us," Dui Qiming and Cui Hongshan hurriedly said. This old one still has important matters to attend to in the hall. I won't be staying here for long." The vibrating Krylwan withdrew its smile and looked at Cui Hongshan. "Cui Hongshan, the spirit stone allocation plan you made earlier still needs to be carefully considered. If you're free tomorrow afternoon, come to the Thunder Hall and discuss it with us." "Yes, this junior understands. This junior will definitely be there on time tomorrow afternoon." Cui Hongshan hurriedly bowed and said, "And do your job well?" The vibrating Krylwan said faintly, "You're the captain of the thunder-controlling sect's first team in this Dao Cultivator War. Your leadership ability is obvious to all. Your future in the Thunder Hall is also limitless. I wouldn't dare. Everything is thanks to Lord Hall Master's guidance," Cui Hongshan said with a smile. The vibrating Krylwan nodded slightly. It used the thunder escape technique again and quickly disappeared. After the vibrating Krylwan's figure disappeared, Cui Hongshan transmitted his voice to Dui Qiming. "Wife, where did you get this flying sword from?" "Do you still need to ask?" "Of course, Senior brother just gave it to me," Dui Qiming said proudly. "But," Cui Hongshan was somewhat puzzled. "How could you give it to Shu?" Dui Qiming smiled and said, "Senior brother didn't want me to tell you this too early." However, he didn't expect that just as he turned around, the thing he predicted would happen. "Then, I won't hide it from you. Husband, let's walk together and talk." "Second senior brother, you mean?" Cui Hongshan suddenly understood. "That's right. Senior brother knows that you come from a cultivation aristocratic family. You have expertise in the ways of the world, and even in communicating with the Thunder Palace. Dui Chiming said with a smile. My myriad Thunder Valley has always been weak. We don't have any spirit stones, magic tools, or pills to communicate with others. Senior brother specially left me a storage pouch. The things inside are for you and me. Dui Chiming pulled Chui Hongshan's hand and explained as they flew. The sunset cast their shadows on the ground, elongating them, and the gratitude in Chui Hongshan's heart was 100 times longer than this shadow. Speaking of which, when Xiao Hua left Sky Thunder Peak, some of the worries in his heart lessened. After all, knowing that everyone in Myriad Thunder Valley was safe and sound was better than anything else. Although helplessness had been in seclusion for many years and hadn't come out, Xiao Hua understood that helplessness also had the inner core of a male lightning beast in his body. Furthermore, helplessness had always been stable. If he wasn't 90% sure, he definitely wouldn't have gone into seclusion. It was only a matter of time before helplessness came out and condensed his inner core. However, some of the old worries were gone, and new worries surged in his heart. The first one to bear the brunt was naturally Xue Xue. Xiao Hua really didn't understand why Xue Xue was so rash. As a disciple of Sun Ming and Sun Lei Palace and also had a lightning beast Dharma body, she only needed to cultivate step by step. What late-stage foundation establishment? What golden core? Although he didn't dare to be 100% sure of reaching nascent soul, he still had a 50% chance. If she really cultivated like Xue Xue, she would definitely be able to catch up to his cultivation pace, but her future progress would definitely be limited. This kind of attitude didn't feel like it was Xue Xue's nature. And with such wild thoughts, how could he notice Xiang Zhili's cultivation? He also didn't know that Xiang Zhili's matter had already been placed on his head. -11. Chapter 27-23. While his imagination was running wild, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of Fairy Hong Xia. He came to a realization and then smiled bitterly. Needless to say, with Xue Xue's competitive character, she must feel that her cultivation was inferior to Fairy Hong Xia and would not look good in front of Xiao Hua. That's why she wanted to catch up. When she saw Fairy Hong Xia, she would not lose to Fairy Hong Xia in terms of cultivation. Women, whether it's a secular woman, a female cultivator, or a female swordsman, I'm afraid they all have a competitive heart. Xiao Hua thought to himself as he took out a cyan spirit pill and casually popped it into his mouth. After this battle, I have to find an opportunity to let Xue Xue and Fairy Hong Xia meet. The two of them have already heard of each other for a long time, but they have never mentioned anything about meeting each other. They must have some grudges in their hearts. I can take this opportunity to eliminate them. Hee. This young master's happy life should be beckoning. Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao's voice sounded from the side. Oh, what's the matter? Xiao Hua sat on the flying boat. Most of the time, he was meditating with his eyes closed. Zhang Qingxiao did not pay attention to him. He did not know why she suddenly woke him up. You don't seem to be meditating. Zhang Qingxiao frowned and asked. Who said? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and tilted his neck. I'm comprehending the wonders of this soul execution light. Impossible. Zhang Qingxiao said impolitely. Look at your wretched smile. How can you be comprehending the secret technique? Why is it impossible? Haven't you heard that the wonders of the secret technique make people scratch their ears and cheeks happily? Xiao Hua's face was not red. He even stretched out his hand and scratched his ears a few times. Don't think that people are fools. Zhang Qingxiao sneered and asked again, haven't you already condensed your core? Why are you still taking cyan spirit pill? According to the practice of the Dao sect, you should take clearly pill now. Xiao Hua understood that this clearly pill was an ordinary pill used by early gold core stage cultivators. He should indeed take this pill. However, Xiao Hua glanced at Zhang Qingxiao and said, I'm happy. So what? I still have some cyan spirit pills in my storage bag. It's a waste not to use them. I thought you returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect to ask your junior martial brother to give you clearly pill and other medicinal pills used by early Jindan stage cultivators. In the end, it wasn't. Now that you have just condensed your golden core, You should take some clearly pills to stabilize your golden core realm and stabilize your newly condensed golden core. Don't be stingy. Once your Jindan collapses, it will be too late for regrets. Although Zhang Qingxiao was concerned, her words didn't sound concerned at all. She even seemed to be gloating. Is this young master poor enough? Xiao Hua naturally wouldn't whisper his situation to Zhang Qingxiao, and said snappily, not only did I not take the clearly pill, I also don't have the Jindan cultivation method to cultivate. How is that possible? Didn't I give you some golden core cultivation methods? Zhang Qingxiao said in disbelief. Those aren't enough. Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and said, you have to give me all the gold core stage 5 elements cultivation methods. Damn it, you're a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect, not a disciple of my heavenly demon sect. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand angrily. Go back and ask your master for it. After saying that, she looked at Zhang Luer and said, let's not talk about other things. We're about to reach the transmission array. What about Luer? Just bring him along. There's nothing shameful about it. Xiao Hua said curiously, at worst, let him wear camouflage clothes. Damn it, you're the one who let Zhang Luer get into the spirit storage bag, and now you're also the one who let him wear camouflage clothes. Zhang Qingxiao said angrily, do you have any idea? Hee. At first I thought it was inconvenient to bring Luer along, but after thinking about it, who would care about an unconscious child? Xiao Hua said with a smile, let's just bring him along. Do you have a brain? Zhang Qingxiao scolded, look at Luer's posture. Is this a Taoist spell? Although the Buddhist sect has been destroyed by the Taoist sect, if someone really sees that it's a Buddhist sitting posture, aren't you asking for trouble? It's better to be safe than sorry. Io, my goodness, this is really rare. Isn't the heavenly demon sect's sovereign always fearless? Now we're thinking so much. Xiao Hua said with an exaggerated expression. Of course I'm not afraid, but this is Zhang Luer, junior sister's son. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly, it's your responsibility to make him like this, but it's also my fault. I can't let Zhang Luer suffer any harm. Besides, there's the pressure of teleportation in the teleportation array. Not to mention that Zhang Luer is still a child who hasn't cultivated yet. He's in such a situation now. Can he bear it? Hee, second senior brother. You're so thoughtful. Xiao Hua scratched his head and laughed. I'll put Luer into the spirit storage bag now. Give it to me. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly, there's no need for you to take the spirit storage bag. I'll take it myself. Don't. Xiao Hua hurriedly waved his hand and said, this matter happened because of me, so I'll naturally be responsible for taking care of Luer. Can you guarantee that Luer will be fine? Zhang Qingxiao was a little doubtful. To be honest, he had never thought of putting someone into the spirit storage bag. It was simply a fantastic idea. I guarantee that he'll be fine. Xiao Hua patted his chest and said, that day, a few disciples of my Imperial Thunder sect. I put them in there for a few days. All right, you must be careful. Zhang Qingxiao knew that Xiao Hua wouldn't speak without thinking. He wouldn't casually take Zhang Luer's life as a joke, but he still warned him as usual. Looking at Zhang Qingxiao's concern, there was no trace of the heavenly demon sect's sect leader's coldness that didn't care about human life. Immediately, Xiao Hua took out the spirit storage bag and put his arm around Zhang Luer's thin shoulders. He smiled and said, good nephew, come in. Seeing Zhang Luer's figure disappear and Xiao Hua even waved the spirit storage bag in front of him a few times, Zhang Qingxiao sneered and said, Zhang Luer is your nephew, not your nephew. Ah, not my nephew? Xiao Hua scratched his head and said, what's the difference between a nephew and a nephew? Go back and ask your eldest senior brother. Zhang Qingxiao patted the flying boat, and the flying boat rushed into the air and quickly flew into the distance. Xiao Hua glanced at Zhang Qingxiao, and his mind entered the space. Naturally, he wouldn't put Zhang Luer into the spirit storage bag. The spirit storage bag was just a cover. Xiao Hua wrapped Zhang Luer's body with his mind and easily put him into the space. After the thunder tribulation and the core condensation, the range of Xiao Hua's divine thought and Buddhist awareness had greatly increased. The range of the space had naturally expanded a lot. According to Xiao Hua's rough estimate, it should be more than 1,000 miles. However, Xiao Hua didn't have full confidence in this number. After all, He had a vague idea of this number and direction. Xiao Hua was afraid that Zhang Luer would wake up at any time, so he naturally didn't dare to place him near the spiritual herbs, nor did he dare to place him near the spiritual insects. He only sent him to a remote place far away. The space was big enough that for a child who had never cultivated before, it was almost impossible to touch. Even if Zhang Luer woke up, he definitely wouldn't discover anything. In the space, Zhang Luer still looked the same. He was very calm, and his breathing was normal. Xiao Hua's mind looked at him for a moment and didn't find anything strange. Only then did he withdraw. However, what Xiao Hua didn't notice was that Zhang Luer's eyes, which hadn't moved at all before, were actually moving slightly in this space. After flying for a while, the flying boat landed at the edge of a small town. Zhang Qingxiao didn't say anything and flew down from the flying boat. With a shake of her hand, she put on a camouflage robe. Xiao Hua naturally did the same as Zhang Qingxiao. Seeing Zhang Qingxiao keep the flying boat, he followed behind him and flew towards the teleportation array. In the next 10 days, they just shuttled back and forth between teleportation arrays. Every time they came out from the teleportation array, Zhang Qingxiao would definitely ask Xiao Hua to take Zhang Luer out of the spirit storage bag and put him on the flying boat. No matter if the flying boat flew for half a day or a few days, he had to see with his own eyes that Zhang Luer was fine. Sigh. Second senior brother. Just let Zhang Luer stay in the spirit storage bag. He won't get in the way. In the end, Xiao Hua was a little annoyed. I guarantee that he'll be fine. Humph. Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly. Unless I'm not by your side, don't think of putting Zhang Luer in the bag like a spirit beast. All right. Xiao Hua was helpless. Just as he was about to sit down and rest, Zhang Qingxiao frowned and the flying boat stopped in midair. Then, Zhang Qingxiao stood there quietly, her body emitting a faint black qi. That black qi was like a thin layer of silk covering a layer, and that black qi was flowing slightly. It didn't change into strange runes. The rune shape was somewhat like a talisman, but also somewhat like a green seal script. Occasionally, there were even pictures of demonic beasts mixed in. Half a meal's worth of cultivation. The black qi suddenly stopped and was absorbed into Zhang Qingxiao's body. Wait here for a moment. Zhang Qingxiao only said one sentence before her figure disappeared into the void. So mysterious. What is she up to? Xiao Hua muttered a few times and closed his eyes again. That spirit-punishing vital light was indeed a little troublesome to use, and it wasn't as easy as Xiao Hua had thought. If he didn't follow the spirit-punishing vital light's cultivation method and just used the yin-yang sword gourd's cultivation method, then there would be 2 flying swords. It couldn't be said that the power of these 2 flying swords wasn't enough, but compared to the true spirit-punishing vital light's cultivation method, the power of these 2 flying swords was really lacking by a lot. Moreover, Xiao Hua himself already had 2 flying swords. Naturally, there was no need for 2 more flying swords, right? Spirit-punishing vital light. As long as there is a living creature with spiritual intelligence, it can be killed. Damn it, this tone is really not small. Xiao Hua was comprehending while sighing with emotion. Just as he was thinking, the primordial spirit in Xiao Hua's space suddenly sensed something. -11. Chapter 27-24. When Xiao Hua's mind entered the space, he immediately understood that the sword-controlling technique of the primordial spirit, which hadn't improved for a long time, finally had a major breakthrough after the primordial spirit went through the lightning tribulation. Good. Xiao Hua was overjoyed. However, while he was pleasantly surprised, Xiao Hua was also slightly stunned. Because now this primordial spirit, well, perhaps it could no longer be called a pure primordial spirit. Originally, the primordial spirit was just a small strand, faintly discernible, without any fixed shape, and could only be perceived by Xiao Hua's mind. But now, the primordial spirit had already condensed, as if it was a kind of substance. Although this substance was still a small dot, in Xiao Hua's mind, there was actually an illusory outline, and this outline faintly had the shape of a person. Of course, this shape was extremely faint, and the appearance couldn't be seen. Since this primordial spirit had such a change, Xiao Hua naturally didn't dare to neglect it. He looked at the two primordial spirits in the sky Dao starry sky and the karma hand. These two primordial spirits didn't grow as fast as the one comprehending the technique, and their shapes were also different. Above the sky Dao starry sky, the core looked like a star, faintly shining, and the faint, almost invisible shadow was also in the shape of a star flame. Inside the karma hand, there seemed to be a chain, and also seemed to be a ring, but it was too small to see clearly. Its shadow was also in the shape of a big hand, similarly faint and invisible. Strange. Could this be the power of the lightning tribulation? During the lightning tribulation, several primordial spirits were sent into the heart sword by Xiaohua. Xiaohua himself was focused on passing the lightning tribulation, so he didn't pay attention to the changes in these primordial spirits. Now that there was a change, it was naturally due to the lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation is beneficial to little white dragon soul. It also said that it was beneficial to the primordial spirits comprehending the soul cultivation technique in the mysterious dark clouds, so these primordial spirits should also be harmless. Xiaohua thought, urging the primordial spirit, and while continuing to comprehend the technique, he actually began to cultivate the medicine field with those tireless puppets. Xiaohua sensed that the primordial spirit's initial unfamiliarity gradually grew, and even had a familiar feeling that he was working in the field. Xiaohua smiled. In this way, isn't it just another me working in the space? After I familiarize myself with the control of these invisible hands and feet, won't I be able to use the technique next? This is bad. Damn it, this primordial spirit of yours truly doesn't need to cultivate Dao techniques anymore, right? Xiaohua suddenly thought of another problem. Heh, who cares? Xiaohua immediately laughed. Even if I want to cultivate, wouldn't I be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort in this space? Immediately after, Xiaohua hurriedly withdrew his consciousness and followed the soul mark of the Dharma eye into the mysterious dark clouds. When he saw the scene in the sky, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded, of course, in the current heaven ring of Qi. Where was the little white dragon and the wisp of his primordial spirit? Motherfucker, did these two things disappear into thin air? Xiaohua remembered that when he sent little white dragon and his own primordial spirit into the mysterious dark clouds, he didn't check carefully at all. Even Xiaohua's own primordial spirit didn't enter the dark clouds. Impossible. Xiaohua frowned as he looked around at the empty but bright sky. The other nascent divinities didn't have any problems with the lightning tribulations, and all of them underwent incredible transformations. How could this soul cultivator's nascent divinity be so special? Besides, little white dragon soul is so amazing. Among nascent soul cultivators, when he thought of this, Xiaohua's consciousness would definitely slap his forehead if he had hands. The brilliance in the heaven ring of Qi is dim, and even the moonlight has disappeared. Naturally, the first layer of the soul cultivation technique has been completed. These two things must have broken through the barrier between the heaven ring of Qi and the clear spirit sky, and entered the second layer of the 9 heavens of spirit origin. Ha ha ha. Thinking about how he had practiced soul cultivation for a long time and how he had finally broken through with great difficulty, Xiaohua almost laughed out loud. His consciousness looked up at the heaven ring of Qi, and sure enough, a faint green brilliance seeped out from the dark clouds. If this wasn't the brilliance of the moonlight, what else could it be? Xiaohua's consciousness almost couldn't wait to rush to the top of the heaven ring of Qi. Previously, although Xiaohua's consciousness could move freely within the heaven ring of Qi, its height was limited, and it couldn't exceed the height of the primordial spirit. But now, he easily arrived at the border between the heaven ring of Qi and the clear spirit sky. See this? Isn't this soul silk? When Xiaohua saw the dark clouds that were still rolling and surging, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. These seemingly endless dark clouds were completely formed by countless soul silk, and those soul silk were constantly trembling, emitting mysterious fluctuations. Whoosh, as if sensing the arrival of Xiaohua's mind, a similar wave of energy swept out from the gap where some of the light had passed through. Immediately, the dark cloud formed by the soul strands was pushed aside, and a passage was formed from the soul strands. Through the gap in the passage, little white dragon's soul, which was almost inaudible, was still slowly dancing on the other side of the passage. It was just that the fluctuations emitted from this dance were so strong that even though Xiao Hua's consciousness was separated by the passage, he could still feel the vigorous energy within. Xiao Hua's consciousness slowly, and even somewhat cautiously, passed through the passage. On the four walls, countless soul silk were wantonly swaying. As they swayed, one by one, faint, strange shapes faintly appeared. As soon as these shapes appeared, they gave birth to a kind of fluctuation, and following this fluctuation, a strange sound was emitted. This sound was like the roar of the wind, like the roar of the waves, and even like the roar of some malicious spirits. Green seal text. When Xiao Hua heard this sound, he immediately understood that his previous thought was not without foundation. Moreover, it was also very accurate. After a soul cultivator entered clear spirit heaven, his primordial spirit was already strong enough to be able to use soul silk to speak. Of course, how to chant the green seal text still required Xiao Hua's attempt, and even the soul cultivator's further cultivation. As soon as he passed through the passage, a dim yellow scenery appeared in front of him. Countless dark clouds were rolling high up in the sky, like the changing scenery in the sky, revealing endless mysteries. Under this high altitude, Little White Dragon's soul was like a grass floating in water, slowly swaying. Not far from Little White Dragon, a ball of dark green, rather dazzling brilliance was changing like a water bubble. As the water bubble continued to change, all kinds of different fluctuations were emitted from the water bubble, overflowing the entire small area of clear spirit heaven. Outside this water bubble, there was a similar illusory figure, the same as the primordial spirit Xiao Hua saw just now. It was a human figure, but he still couldn't see its features clearly. However, what was different from the primordial spirit of the past was that on this human figure, or perhaps through the bubbles of the human figure, there were countless soul strands that were connected to the clouds that surrounded the sky. These soul strands were intermittent, faintly discernible, and extremely mysterious. This is the core of that wisp of primordial spirit. Xiao Hua's mind fell on the water bubble. The water bubble was endlessly changing, just like the dance of the primordial spirit. Following the changes of the water bubble, the green light reflected on the human figure, and the human figure also swayed in the green light. This swaying was somewhat compatible with Little White Dragon's dance. Little White Dragon had already said earlier that it was currently weak, so they should not disturb it. Xiao Hua looked at it for a moment, then quietly retreated. Moreover, he sent some of the moonlight into clear spirit sky, illuminating the entire clear spirit sky. Lightning tribulation is indeed incomparably mysterious. Xiao Hua was satisfied. If Little White Dragon didn't tell me, how would I know that this lightning tribulation that can strike people to death has so many benefits? There is really a great terror between life and death, and in between this terror, there are great benefits. It's just that. Ordinary people are already exhausted from dealing with the lightning tribulation. Who would dare to do such a thing? Even now, when this young master thinks about it, this young master's actions that day were really too crazy. Xiao Hua curled his lips. If it wasn't for the fact that I was in a desperate situation with no way out and had the idea of taking a gamble, this young master wouldn't have divulged all these details. Thinking of the endless benefits, Xiao Hua's heart itched again, and he prepared to look at the Dream Slayer and Mountain Splitter. However, at this moment, Zhang Qingxiao's figure appeared not far away, and she was happy. Zhang Qingxiao's expression was a little strange, as if she was a little excited, but also a little disappointed. Zhang Qingxiao's figure landed on the flying boat, but she didn't activate the flying boat. Instead, she asked Xiao Hua, "Has the nascent soul master of your Imperial Thunder sect already gone to Sky Patrol City?" "Yes," Xiao Hua said curiously. "When I met with the junior brother of the Myriad Thunder Valley that day, Spiritual Master Me, you had already led a group of disciples to Sky Patrol City. What's wrong? Qianlei is in seclusion? Why didn't he go to Sky Patrol City? Is he really in seclusion?" Zhang Qingxiao's tone was a little hesitant. Xiao Hua smiled and replied, "How would I know about this matter? Even Cui Hongshan only heard about it from others. Whether he is really in seclusion or not, I'm afraid only the 8 masters of my Imperial Thunder sect know about it, right? Himph, they are all a group of old foxes. Zhang Qingxiao snorted coldly. She seemed to be very angry. What's wrong? Xiao Hua asked. Other than my Imperial Thunder sect's master, which other masters didn't go to Sky Patrol City? Almost half of the sects didn't go. Zhang Qingxiao said lazily. What does this have to do with you? Xiao Hua asked halfway before he suddenly realized something. Hee, I understand now. Humph. It's good that you understand. Zhang Qingxiao's face was lonely. She sighed and said, I have calculated everything. I just want to take advantage of the time when these nascent soul masters go to Sky Patrol City to spread the banner of Heavenly Demon Sect. But I have already prepared everything. But they have left half of their masters in their own nest. What am I supposed to do? Then don't be in a hurry to open a sect. Come with me, and we'll talk about it later. Xiao Hua said with a smile. What a pity. Zhang Qingxiao stretched and said, in addition to this bad news, I have another bad news to tell you. -11. Chapter 27-25. What bad news? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows. Could it be that you're not going with me? Yes, not only can I not go with you, even you can't go. Zhang Qingxiao stopped playing around and said seriously, I just don't know how you're doing with your soul-punishing light. Oh, they're here? Xiao Hua's expression turned cold as he whispered, Yes, it's him who's here, not them. Zhang Qingxiao nodded slightly and corrected, but then he clenched his teeth and said, However, I can't be sure if it's him or not. If it's him, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape this time. If it's not him, with your help, do I still have a chance to escape? Who is him? Xiao Hua's heart trembled. He knew Zhang Qingxiao's strength, and although Zhang Qingxiao didn't know his strength, he should have some estimation. Even Zhang Qingxiao thought that the two of them weren't a match for him. This person is really terrifying. Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao didn't answer his question, but looked into Xiao Hua's eyes and said word by word, This has nothing to do with Shang Huaming. It has nothing to do with revenge. You don't have to participate. Who is him? He's actually so powerful? Xiao Hua didn't answer his question and asked again. Who knew that Zhang Qingxiao was even more ruthless and said, Now, on your shoulders, besides yourself, there's also Zhang Luer. Even after I die, there's still Shang Huaming's blood feud, junior sister, and Zhang Yutong. Who is him? Xiao Hua said coldly, Answer my question first, then I'll decide for myself. Zhang Qingxiao shook his head slightly and said indifferently, At this time, I can't tell you yet. If it's really him, and I mention him here, him will immediately be alerted. Hiss, Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. Wasn't this divine ability similar to the power of Zhong Haoran's prayer? Zhong Haoran's prayer was devout, and he could sense it from nearby. But this him, as long as he crossed the millions of Ming mountains, he could sense Zhang Qingxiao's chanting in the entire Xiaoyu continent. This kind of divine ability, perhaps even a spirit-severing cultivator couldn't compare. It's not as powerful as you think. When Zhang Qingxiao saw Xiao Hua's astonishment, she knew that he had misunderstood. She hurriedly explained, Anyone can mention him, and he might not feel anything. I'm the only one who can't mention it. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiao Hua somewhat understood. You'd better go somewhere else. Zhang Qingxiao said gloomily earlier, I wanted to use your cultivation to kill him. However, you've never been able to successfully refine the golden dragon silver. Although your strength is comparable to a nascent soul stage cultivator, you're not a nascent soul stage cultivator after all. There are many methods of a nascent soul stage cultivator that you can't use. To tell you the truth, when I was on my way back, I was still thinking about how to join hands with you to kill him. But after thinking about it, apart from this spirit-slaying origin light, there really isn't any other treasure that can restrain him. Demon Monarch Scarlet Maple? Xiao Hua exposed the truth. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head slightly. If it's the person you're talking about, I wouldn't have said these words to you. The strength of the Demon Realm's Demon Monarch is not something we can compare with. You and I should run as far away as possible. Is that the Demon Monarch? Xiao Hua knew that Zhang Qingxiao couldn't say it out loud, so he could only guess. No, Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, he is a demon general of the demon realm. Oh, you can't say that he's a real demon general. He's just a wisp of the demon general's divine clone. Divine clone? Xiao Hua was stunned. He had just seen his primordial spirit that had gone through the lightning tribulation, and now he heard about the divine clone. It was really fate. Even if it's a divine clone, you and I can't beat him even if we join hands? Xiao Hua asked. Maybe we can. Zhang Qingxiao pursed her thin lips and said hesitantly, but it's not more than 40%. So low. Xiao Hua also hesitated and said in a low voice, Can't you abandon your demonic sect? Can't you just quickly run away from here? You don't understand. Zhang Qingxiao smiled bitterly. If I don't get rid of this person, I'll be found by him no matter where I run. Where is he? Xiao Hua asked again. Was he the one who sent you a message just now? At this point, Zhang Qingxiao didn't hide anything from Xiao Hua and said, just now, the deputy sect master of my demonic sect sent me a message and told me the list of nascent soul stage cultivators sent by the three kingdoms to Sky Patrol City. He also asked me when I would open the sect. Just when I was hesitating, a communication talisman fell in front of me. As she spoke, Zhang Qingxiao took out a thumb-sized, pitch-black demonic slip. This demonic slip was a bit different from what Xiao Hua had seen before. Within the pitch-black demonic energy, there were traces of blood stains. The blood stains were like ghost head surging. This isn't the communication talisman of my demonic sect, nor is it the communication talisman of the demonic cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent. Zhang Qingxiao said helplessly. Although there's no information about him inside, his aura and style of doing things are no different from him. Xiao Hua didn't take the devil slip. Instead, he asked, what did the communication talisman say? He told me to open the sect according to the previous plan. Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of gloom, and he told me to go to Tenju Peak to see him. It seems that he has been here for a long time, Xiao Hua said with a sullen face, and he even colluded with some people from your demonic sect. Yes, Zhang Qingxiao nodded, that's for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have known about my plan. Yin Meng? Xiao Hua asked. Most likely. Yin Meng seems to have come from Mount Million Ming. Zhang Qingxiao gritted his teeth and said, this Yin Meng is more sinister than I thought. He must have been here for a long time, but the deputy sect master of my demonic sect didn't report to me. Hee. If Yin Meng came looking for the universal shift token, do you think I would be lucky enough to escape? You have the Imperial Thunder sect to protect you. Zhang Qingxiao sighed and said, or you can give me the universal shifting token now, and you can stay out of this. Let's go. Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and took Zhang Luer into his space, sighing, Zhang Luer is senior sister's child. I can't ignore his matter. Your trouble is my second senior brother's matter. I can't ignore it. Now that my cultivation is higher than yours, if I don't help you, how will master and eldest senior brother reprimand me when they find out? When did your cultivation become higher than mine? Zhang Qingxiao's heart warmed, but he didn't give in and said coldly, even if you're comparable to a nascent soul cultivator, you're still inferior to mine. Hee, it's useless to say more. Let's see who kills him. That's the real expert. Xiao Hua said with a smile. All right, it's a deal. Zhang Qingxiao stretched out his hand and pressed on the flying boat. The flying boat suddenly soared into the sky and rushed to the place where he went. Is Tianju Peak over there? Xiao Hua looked into the distance and asked. Nonsense, Tianju Peak naturally isn't there. Zhang Qingxiao smiled and said, let's first settle Zhang Luer down. Then I'll send out the order for Heavenly Devil Sect's establishment. Only then can you and I head to Tianju Peak. Oh, all right. Xiao Hua nodded slightly. Just as Zhang Qingxiao had expected, the news of the Heavenly Devil Sect's establishment was like throwing a huge rock into the already chaotic Dawn Rain continent, shocking all the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent to the point that they were caught off guard. On the Dawn Rain continent, fiendish cultivators had always been despised by everyone. They were all inferior cultivators. All the cultivators, no matter if they were from cultivation sects, cultivation aristocratic families, or rogue cultivators, they all treated devil cultivators as abnormal. Even if their devil artifacts were useful and many body cultivators liked to use them, they never thought that these devil cultivators who couldn't see the light of day actually dared to establish their own sect. Once this heavenly devil sect was established, it was established in Shi, Ming, and Lian at the same time. There were actually 3 places where the heavenly devil sect's banner was raised. What's more, these 3 places were originally where the Dao sect's cultivators were located. Shi country's Huaixian Fan clan, Jiaran Zhao clan, and Fanqiu Zhao clan were originally 3 famous cultivation aristocratic families in the eastern part of Shi country. Now that all their disciples had joined the heavenly devil sect, the 3 families were originally not far from each other in terms of strength. Now that they were joined together, they became the foundation of the heavenly devil sect in Shi country. Ming country's Dingqian city's Ming clan, Mo country's Qi clan, and Yi city's Qian clan were similar to the 3 aristocratic families in Shi country. However, these 3 families had a fierce and cruel battle with the heavenly devil sect's disciples. However, because the heavenly devil sect had been planning for a long time and these 3 families were caught off guard, the surrounding small cultivation sects didn't have time to send reinforcements, and the 3 families had already fallen into the hands of the heavenly devil sect. Lian country's Qianpeng Ridge's Huang clan, Heavenly Devil Cave's Chang clan, and Fanyi Mountain's Wang clan had long been controlled by Zhang Qingxiao. Once Zhang Qingxiao gave the order, the 3 families simply fell under the heavenly devil sect without shedding a drop of blood. Regardless of whether it was the 3 cultivation aristocratic families in Shi country, Ming country, or Lian country, they were all very close to each other. They could train together and support each other. The foundations of the 3 heavenly devil sects in the 3 countries were also not too far apart. They could also support each other. Even the foundations of these heavenly devil sects were connected by secret transmission arrays that Dao sect cultivators didn't know about. The heavenly devil sect's move could not be said to be small, and the timing could not be said to be not clever. However, the 9 cultivation aristocratic families they found were not particularly big, and their relationships with the nearby cultivation sects were not particularly close. Not to mention that at this time, the various sects and clans had sent out their elites to fight the sword cultivators of Huan country and suffered heavy losses. It was very unlikely that they would make a big fuss over the establishment of a devil sect like the heavenly devil sect. Even in normal times, the reputable sects and clans wouldn't stand up and exterminate the heavenly devil sect for 9 ordinary cultivation aristocratic families. Therefore, although the establishment of the heavenly devil sect had caused a great commotion in the Xiaoyu continent, there were only a few cultivation sects that truly wanted to interfere. As for these 3 cultivation sects that were close to the heavenly devil sect's foundations, they wanted to interfere, but they were really powerless. There were also a few sects that tried to send some disciples, but they were all defeated by the heavenly devil sect one by one. Moreover, it was only defeat and not the bloody annihilation that everyone had imagined. This made everyone heave a sigh of relief. -11. Chapter 27-26. Naturally, after learning about the establishment of the heavenly demon sect, many cultivators secretly pondered. After all, demonic cultivators were also cultivators. Furthermore, demonic cultivators had been around in the Dawn Rain continent for a long time. There seemed to be no conflict of interest between them and cultivators. The conflict between the cultivators of the Dao sect and the swordsmen of the Huan country was far less acute. The current plan was to eliminate the swordsmen. As for the heavenly demon sect, it could be dealt with after the great battle between the cultivators of the Dao sect. Therefore, after more than 10 days of waves caused by the establishment of the heavenly demon sect, the crowd no longer paid attention to the heavenly demon sect after being probed by some cultivators. Instead, they turned their attention to the Sky Patrol City. A group of nascent soul cultivators gathered in the Sky Patrol City. This was the opportunity that Zhang Qingxiao had been planning all along. The development of the matter was also within his calculations. Even if the leaders of the Imperial Thunder sect and other cultivators did not go to the Sky Patrol City, these accidents did not stop him from establishing the heavenly demon sect. Of course, if there was no such accident as him, that would be even better. Unfortunately, although Zhang Qingxiao was an ambitious and ruthless person, It was impossible for him to control everything in his hands. 20 days after issuing the order to establish the sect, he had no choice but to set off alone from the heavenly demon sect in the country of Shi and head to the southwest of the Lian country. The southwest of the Lian country was a continuous stretch of lakes. It was the land of fish and rice that the people of the world spoke of. This stretch of thousands of miles was different from the cold river of the Tianmin Mountain. The cold river of the Tianmin Mountain was a large river that meandered through the entire plain. Many rivers nearby rushed over and merged into the cold river, thus forming the land of water. The land of water in the Lian country was made up of hundreds and thousands of lakes of various sizes. Each lake was connected by small streams of water. Naturally, the lakes varied in size. The large ones were hundreds of acres in size, while the small ones were tens of feet in size. These lakes were not connected by a large river like the cold river. At the edge of the land of fish and rice, there was a mountain range that was neither tall nor short. It was called the Chuling Mountain. There were waterfalls on the mountain, and various mountain springs could be seen everywhere. It was beautiful and magnificent. It was a famous scenic spot in the southwest of the Lian country. Tianju Peak was the highest peak in the Chuling Mountain. This heavenly pillar peak was also strange. It was as straight as a pillar, extending out from the middle of the mountain range. It appeared so abrupt and unruly. Not to mention that it did not match the appearance of the water village that stretched for thousands of miles. It also appeared out of place when compared to those dwarf-like mountain ranges within 100 miles. Although Tianju Peak wasn't the highest peak in the Lian Kingdom, and it wasn't even in the top 10, its reputation was the most resounding in the Lian Kingdom. Every spring and autumn, there would always be a large number of people from the secular world who would bring their families here to enjoy the scenery. The firewood and cotton that bloomed in the spring and autumn was the focus of their pursuit. The firewood cotton was a mixture of red and yellow. It was fluffy like ordinary cotton and didn't look particularly outstanding. However, from top to bottom, Tianju Peak was covered in this rare firewood cotton. When it bloomed, the entire Tianju Peak was dyed in a reddish-yellow color. This reddish-yellow color swayed in the wind like a burning flame. The entire Tianju Peak was covered in a layer of reddish-yellow flames. It was like a burning sword piercing into the sky. Everyone was curious. Being in this flame-like place, it was as if they had turned into a cluster of flames. Their entire body and mind were filled with joy. Right now, it was obviously not the time for the northern winds of spring and autumn. However, the faint, rustling snowflakes that blanketed the sky and covered the earth, landing on the pillar of heaven's peak. The scenery that was completely white had an indescribable charm to it. However, the mountain path of Tianju Peak was covered in snow and was very smooth. Although the mountain path was wide, how could ordinary people climb up the mountain? However, there was always something unusual in this world. Halfway up Tianju Peak, there were two people who were slowly climbing up the peak. Actually, it was a little forced to say that they were climbing. These two people were wearing strange clothes that covered their entire body. Their figures and appearances couldn't be seen. Although their feet landed on the mountain path, the snowflakes under their feet didn't move at all. It was as if their feet were floating in the air above the snowflakes. The two people walked slowly, as if they had walked for a long time without saying a word. The falling snowflakes also landed on their bodies. However, with a slight bounce, they fell down the strange clothes. Not a single snowflake was left on them. Save me. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching scream rang out about 400 feet above the two of them. Immediately after, a black shadow fell down from the cliff on their left with a whoosh sound. Sigh, I knew it. In such a snowy day, sitting on your own Kong bed, drinking wine, looking at the snowy scenery outside when you have nothing to do. When you have the leisure to tease your wife, when you're frustrated, you can grab your children and give them a few slaps. Isn't this 100 times better than coming to this bullshit Tianju Peak to die? This voice was very strange. It was the voice of the person who had gone through the maze. However, wasn't this the voice of the heavenly demon sect's Zhang Qingxiao, who was extremely popular in the Donrain continent? As he spoke, Zhang Qingxiao looked at the person beside him and asked curiously, "Haven't you always liked to reach out and save people? Why this time?" Without waiting for him to finish speaking, The person beside him immediately moved and flew towards the cliff at the side. Naturally, who else could it be other than Xiao Hua? Tiske, I knew it. It would be strange if you could endure it. Zhang Qingxiao sneered. He did not stop and continued to walk up the mountain path. However, when he raised his head, he saw a mountain range that was covered by craggy rocks. A soft sigh came from within the maze. After about half a cup of tea's worth of time, Xiao Huakai slowly flew up from the cliff and landed behind Zhang Qingxiao. Why are you only back now? Don't tell me you sent him back? Zhang Qingxiao asked indifferently. How can one learn without suffering a setback? Xiao Hua also replied indifferently. If we had saved him when he had just fallen, I'm afraid that he would have been lucky. If I saved him when he was completely disheartened, I would be able to give him an unforgettable lesson. Good. Zhang Qingxiao almost clapped his hands. I didn't expect you to have grown up and know how to save people. Damn, how much older can you be than me? Xiao Hua smiled. He pointed at the pillar of heaven's peak and said, moreover, who knows if this matter was done by him or not? Who knows if this is a test of our cultivation level? I can't not be careful. If it was done by him, then I wouldn't be worried. Zhang Qingxiao sighed. Him would never do such a senseless thing. We, people from the devil realm, have always been straightforward. We definitely won't use any probing tricks. That's enough. Xiao Hua sneered. If they don't know how to probe, then what's the matter with the devil cultivators on Xiaoyu continent? What's the matter with you? What's the matter with that him? Emph. Sword cultivators can sneak attack Lian country. Why can't my devil sect's people? Zhang Qingxiao stopped as he spoke. At this time, not far away, near the innermost part of the mountain path, there were several trembling men and women squeezed together. These men and women weren't cultivators, and they were all in their teens. The innermost young man's hand was tightly grasping the protrusion of the stone wall, while the others were holding on to each other. These young people were wearing thin clothes. Although they were squeezed together, their lips were blue from the cold. Clearly, they weren't warm at all. Instead, they looked extremely miserable in this snowy day. Seeing two people suddenly emerge from the mountain path amidst the falling snow, the few youths were stunned at first. Then, a look of surprise flashed across their faces. However, just as they were about to call for help, their gazes fell on the ground beneath the two people's feet. There was no trace of them at all. Looking at the feet of the young people, several long snow marks were drawn from the top of the mountain path. It was extremely messy, and there was even a long snow mark that was drawn out of the cliff. Wasn't it left behind by the person who fell just now? Save me. A girl with a childish face couldn't help but call for help. Her trembling lips and teeth were constantly clattering together. It was extremely cold. Immortal Elder, save me. Immediately after, a boy of the same age also called out. However, this child stood outside the group of people, and his hands seemed to be a little stiff. As he spoke, his whole body trembled, and his hand actually loosened. Although it wasn't a big deal that his hand loosened, his feet also slipped, and he slid down the slanted mountain path towards the cliff. Save me. A hysterical cry could no longer be suppressed, and it came out from this young man's mouth. The previous restraint, hesitation, and doubt had long been abandoned in this moment of life and death. Sigh. Knowing that this heaven pillar peak is so dangerous, I just came here normally. Xiao Hua sighed. With a slight movement of his body, he appeared beside the youth. He raised his hand and grabbed the youth. However, the heavenly pillar peak is already snowing. For the sake of a bet, for the sake of showing off and wanting to win, you actually climbed up without saying a word to your parents. If you didn't meet this Xiao, wouldn't all of you have lost your lives? Yes, Immortal Elder, save me, Immortal Elder, save me. That young man used his hand and his entire body to hug Xiao Hua's arm. He used all the strength in his body, afraid that this life-saving straw would disappear without a trace. Do all of you know that you were wrong? Xiao Hua's arm was like cast iron, and it didn't move at all. He easily lifted up the young man's thin body and looked at the few young people. Yes, we know that we are wrong. The few young men scrambled to be the first to cry out. However, Xiaohua still asked with interest, "Tell me, do you know where you are wrong?" -11. Chapter 27:27. We shouldn't be so competitive. We knew that this Tianju Peak is slippery in snow and could easily get into trouble. But for some silver, to fight for our dignity, we climbed this dangerous peak. A girl cleverly says. What else? Xiaohua says unrelentingly. We shouldn't be so impulsive and bet with those people. A few people clench their teeth and endure the cold as they say. Sigh. Young people. Xiaohua sighs. Just as he is about to open his mouth, the innermost youth who has been using his hand to grab the stone wall, his knuckles are already white and blood is seeping out from his fingernails. He says, "The most damnable thing is that we didn't think of our parents. They must be panicking right now and must have begged their neighbors to search for us. But they definitely didn't think that we would be so reckless and actually climb Tianju Peak." Xiaohua looks at the youth from top to bottom. The youth uses his hand to grab the stone wall and has his back facing Xiaohua. Xiaohua can only see his delicate and pretty face from the side. However, although the youth's clothes are a bit shabby, they are washed very clean. He looks a bit different from the other youths. That's right, you are absolutely right. Xiaohua nods and says, when a person is alive, there is not only himself. You also have your family by your side. You are the flesh and blood of your family. If you don't protect yourselves, then you are letting down your family. Don't think that your parents don't know that they have already gathered at the foot of Tianju Peak. However, the mountain path is slippery now. Even if there is a large sum of money, no one will come to die. Instead, your parents are already preparing to come up personally. Father, mother. Hearing this, how can these people still hold back the fear in their hearts and the longing for their family? They all cry out and the tears of the two girls flow out. Daoist Xiao, hurry up and send them down. Zhang Qingxiao smiles and says, if you don't send them off, their parents will really come up. At that time, you still have to send them off. Daoist Xiao? The youth who is climbing the stone wall hears Zhang Qingxiao's words and hurriedly calls out, You are Daoist Xiao? I am not. Xiaohua replies without any trace of politeness, You all come over here. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and several youths involuntarily flew towards Xiaohua. Daoist Master Xiao. The innermost youth was still holding onto the stone wall, unwilling to let go as he called out, Today, I came to Tianju Peak differently from them. This kid has a blood feud. So I came to Tianju Peak to look for Senior Immortal. Why would Xiaohua care about him? His body flew up and fell down the cliff. Faintly, the two girls cried out in fright. This time, he was extremely fast. In just a short moment, Xiaohua flew over again. It's quite fast this time. Zhang Qingxiao seemed to have become more talkative after reaching Tianju Peak. Their parents have already climbed up the Pillar of Heaven Peak. I only sent them to the foot of the mountain, beside their parents. Xiaohua said, and couldn't help but be a little surprised. This young man is indeed somewhat interesting. Zhang Qingxiao seemed to have also discovered something fishy and said with a smile, Let's go. Xiaohua shook his head. If it was a normal day, I would have helped. But now, we can't even guarantee our lives. How can we care about others? Following which, Xiaohua walked up the mountain path. There are those adults watching from the left and right. He won't be able to climb up today. Are we still going to continue? Zhang Qingxiao asked with a smile that wasn't a smile. When Xiaohua heard this, he stopped a few feet away, turned his head and said, If you feel that there is nothing left in this world, if you feel that you can already face him, then we don't have to leave. Actually, when Xiaohua said this, his heart was also nervous. When he and Zhang Qingxiao flew over and saw Tianju Peak in front of them, Zhang Qingxiao, who had always been fearless, actually felt fear in her heart. She even suggested that they slowly climb up the mountain from the foot of the mountain. Xiaohua really didn't know what this him had on Zhang Qingxiao to make Zhang Qingxiao, who was almost at the late stage of golden core, have a slight change in expression and even her body slightly tremble, as if in front of him, Zhang Qingxiao was only a child who didn't even have the strength to truss up a chicken. At the same time, Xiao Hua also understood that if he didn't come, Zhang Qingxiao alone would probably surrender upon seeing him, without even the courage to resist. Therefore, Xiao Hua had no choice but to come. Even without Yin Ming and the Grand Universe teleportation token, he still had to come. He was currently Zhang Qingxiao's mental support, the family behind those youngsters who rashly climbed up the Pillar of Heaven Peak. In this world, there are naturally things that I am reluctant to leave behind. Zhang Qingxiao looked at the snowflakes floating in the air, and then looked at the abyss where the snowflakes fell, and said with a smile, "In the future, there will be even more things that I am reluctant to leave behind in this dawn rain continent. But right now, I have to first walk this path and not fall into the abyss." As she said that, Zhang Qingxiao turned to look at Xiao Hua and said with a smile, "I have no choice but to walk this dangerous path, but you are really good, insisting on joining in the fun. If you fall down yourself, don't blame me." Ha ha ha, it's still not certain who will fall down. Xiao Hua laughed heartily. His figure suddenly shot straight up into the sky, and all the snow was scattered by his figure. "Even if I fall down, I will definitely pull someone down with me." Zhang Qingxiao also shouted, and her figure also flew up into the sky with Xiao Hua. The peak of the Pillar of Heaven Peak was naturally not flat, and there were even some abrupt rocks and stone spikes all over. Moreover, this peak was already extremely cold, and cold winds would occasionally blow past. Only a few sharp thorns grabbed onto the gaps between the rocks, and only then was Xiao Hua able to find a trace of azure within this pale white color. Xiao Hua's two hands slightly clenched into fists, and he had already released his divine sense, scanning the several hundred feet around the peak. Other than the wind and the drifting snowflakes, there was not a single person. Zhang Qingxiao, who was behind Xiao Hua, also clearly heaved a sigh of relief, and even said somewhat deliberately, "Looks like I still came early." However, before Zhang Qingxiao's words fell, she saw a faint black shadow appear in the distance, and it flew towards the two of them. Although this black shadow was still very far from the Pillar of Heaven Peak, Zhang Qingxiao and Xiao Hua were already on high alert. The moment the black shadow appeared, the two of them discovered it, and their divine sense swept over without hesitation. And, as expected, it was this fellow who revealed it. Zhang Qingxiao's divine sense swept over the black shadow, and she immediately gnashed her teeth and said, "I should have killed him long ago." Seeing that the black shadow was Yin Ming, who was rushing over, Xiao Hua withdrew his divine sense. He had seen Yin Ming once when he was training in the Foundation Establishment realm. At that time, he and Zhang Qingxiao had yet to recognize each other. Now that he was already in the Gold Core realm, how could he still put Yin Ming, who was only in the Foundation Establishment realm, in his eyes? You should say this to yourself." Xiao Hua sneered. "If this fellow was not useful, I'm afraid you would have already killed him." Hee. Zhang Qingxiao rubbed her hands and laughed. "I wanted to rope him in, and even gave him the position of the first vice sect leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect. I had always been showing weakness in front of him, making him feel that he was the true sect leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect. But I didn't expect that all of these could not be compared to him." When she mentioned him, Zhang Qingxiao, who had already recovered her calm, became cautious again. She released her divine sense again, and not only did it sweep behind Yin Ming, but it also swept the surroundings of the Pillar of Heaven Peak. "There's no need to look. There's no one nearby, no matter if it's a cultivator or a demon general." Xiao Hua whispered, How would you know the methods of the demon realm's demon generals?" Zhang Qingxiao was still not at ease. "My concealment technique is not worth mentioning in his eyes. So powerful." When Xiao Hua heard this, his heart jumped even more, and he unconsciously opened his Dharma eyes again. Ever since the lightning tribulation, Xiao Hua increasingly felt that there was something wrong with his Dharma eyes. It was like the naked eye was blurry, and there were often some places that he could not see clearly. However, Xiao Hua himself did not know the origin of this Dharma eyes and how to use it, so naturally, he could not find the source. After Xiao Hua looked at it again, he really didn't see anything. Only then did he close his Dharma eyes and watch Zhang Qingxiao inspect it over and over again. Seeing that Yin Ming had already flown close, and after Yin Ming's divine sense swept over, Zhang Qingxiao stopped her useless inspection, got rid of the Mimi, and flew in front of Xiao Hua to welcome Yin Ming. Greetings, Sect Master. When Yin Ming saw Zhang Qingxiao after the Mimi was removed, his face showed a look of understanding, and he flew in front of Zhang Qingxiao unhurriedly and bowed. However, looking at his indifferent appearance, it seemed that as Zhang Qingxiao said, he really did not put Zhang Qingxiao, the Sect Master, in his eyes. Vice Sect Master Yin, why did you come to Tianju Peak? Zhang Qingxiao asked gloomily. Now is the critical moment of my heavenly demon sect's establishment. Sect Master is not here, but you, as the first Vice Sect Master of the heavenly demon sect, should be in charge of the affairs of the Lian country. Why did you run here? Yin Ming frowned, puzzled, and said, well, Sect Master knows. This Yin received a communication talisman, saying. At this point, Yin Ming's gaze fell on Xiaohua, and he whispered, I don't know who this person behind Sect Master is. This is this Sect Master's trusted aide. This Sect Master can trust him. Speak. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand and asked indifferently, Are you sure you want this Yin Ming to say it? Yin Ming said coldly, Nonsense, I told you to say it. So say it. Zhang Qingxiao said angrily, Are you the Sect Master of the Heavenly Demon Sect, or am I? Sect Master Zhang, you are so awe-inspiring, so ferocious. Ha ha ha. Yin Ming laughed, clapped his hands, and took out a magic slip similar to the one Zhang Qingxiao showed Xiaohua before, and said, Lord Jipeng, -11. Chapter 27-28. At this point, Yin Ming purposely paused and coldly looked at Zhang Qingxiao, just as Xiaohua was worried. Zhang Qingxiao suddenly felt like he had lost his soul. His eyes flashed with fear, and he almost blurted out, Where is my lord? What did he say? After speaking, Zhang Qingxiao came to his senses. He narrowed his eyes and clenched his fists. He looked at Yin Ming with some anger and said coldly, If you have something to say it quickly. Don't be so long-winded. However, when Yin Ming heard this, he waved his hand and put away the magic slip. He smiled and said, It's rare to see Lord Sect Master angry. This old man thought that Lord Sect Master wouldn't get angry. Zhang Qingxiao didn't feel any pressure in front of Yin Ming. He faintly said, Although this Sect Master is very modest and usually doesn't get angry at subordinates, this Sect Master is being played like a monkey. This Sect Master will naturally get angry. Played like a monkey? Ha ha ha, Sect Master Zhang, you are indeed insightful. These words are extremely well said. Yin Ming suddenly stared blankly, then he clapped his hands and laughed. Since you know that this subordinate was disrespectful to Sect Master, Lord Sect Master will get angry. However, what if someone doesn't listen to Lord Jipeng's words? What if they feign compliance but secretly disobey his orders? Lord Jipeng will get angry? Zhang Qingxiao's expression changed slightly. He looked around and coldly said, Yin Ming, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this, old man? Yin Ming's face revealed a mysterious expression. He glanced at the motionless Xiaohua and said, This old man only wants to ask on behalf of Lord Jipeng. Do you still remember why Lord Jipeng brought you here and left you in the Cultivation 3 Kingdoms? Have you already forgotten that you are a member of the demon realm? Zhang Qingxiao's face was slightly pale, but he still reluctantly scolded, This is our Sect Master's matter. When Lord Jipeng arrives, this Sect Master will personally report to him. What does this have to do with you? Naturally, it has nothing to do with this old man. Yin Ming was still smiling. However, this old man still wants to ask Lord Sect Master, what is going on with Yellow Flower Ridge? Yellow Flower Ridge? Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness, and her body involuntarily moved a little. But looking at Yin Ming, he was still calm, and his body didn't move at all, as if he had nothing to fear. How do you know about Yellow Flower Ridge? Zhang Qingxiao looked around again, forcefully suppressing the killing intent in her heart as she coldly asked, What a coincidence. Yin Ming answered all of Zhang Qingxiao's questions. This old man was once in the country of Xi and happened to meet a disciple of my heavenly demon sect who I had some impression of. When I spoke to him, He was actually vague and even evasive. This old man had no choice but to ask about him. Did you kill Bai Tianfeng? Zhang Qingxiao suddenly realized something and asked coldly. If he doesn't answer this old man's question, it means that he's being disrespectful to this old man, the vice sect leader. According to the rules of my heavenly demon sect, it's not a big deal for this old man to attack him. Yin Ming giggled and said, besides, this old man only searched his soul and didn't take his life. It was just that he went crazy and fell from the cliff. Zhang Qingxiao's face turned extremely ugly. From Bai Tianfeng, this old man didn't get anything useful. Yin Ming looked at Zhang Qingxiao and said with interest, this old man only knew that Bai Tianfeng was going to Yellow Flower Ridge. This Yellow Flower Ridge. What kind of place is it? This old man is very curious. Lord Sect Leader, you said that my heavenly demon sect already has a foundation in the country of Shi. Why are you going to Yellow Flower Ridge? This sect leader's actions? Do I need to tell you the reason? Yes, this old man thought. Even if this old man wanted to ask, Lord Sect Leader wouldn't answer. So, this old man had to go check it out personally. You went to Yellow Flower Ridge? Zhang Qingxiao's eyes were already curved like a falcon's. This old man hasn't been to Yellow Flower Ridge yet. Yin Ming shrugged slightly and said with a smile, if this old man went, wouldn't Lord Sect Leader know? Of course, it's not that this old man didn't want to go, but before this old man went to Yellow Flower Ridge according to plan, I've already discovered some of Lord Sect Leader's secrets. What do you know? Zhang Qingxiao crossed his arms and seemed to have thrown caution to the wind. Yin Ming was still smiling as he said unhurriedly, actually, it's nothing much. This old man just found out that Yellow Flower Ridge didn't belong to 100 Herb Sect, but a small sect called Shanghuoming. This small sect only has 3.5 disciples, and one of them is called Zhang Qingxiao. But that Zhang Qingxiao doesn't seem to be the same person as Lord Sect Leader. He's far from being as handsome and charming as Lord Sect Leader. Zhang Qingxiao's eyelids twitched, and he raised his arm. But when he saw that Yin Ming was still fearless and didn't care about his actions, he stopped and said lightly, continue. Actually, even if this Zhang Qingxiao has the same name as Lord Sect Leader, even if Lord Sect Leader is this Zhang Qingxiao, it's fine, Yin Ming said again. But this old man found out that Shang Huoming's disciple who hasn't entered the sect is called Xiao Hua. Lord Sect Leader, don't you think it's strange? This Xiao Hua has the same name as Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Even their looks are the same. Yin Ming's tone was a little cold. Even if this Xiao Hua of Shang Huoming is Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect, it's fine. But this Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect seems to be the Xiao Hua who got the Deity teleportation token from Fantong, right? It seems. Lord Sect Leader still doesn't know this Xiao Hua, right? You still want this old man to go to Ming Nation to find Xiao Hua? Zhang Qingxiao looked at Yin Ming silently, not knowing what he was thinking. Actually, this old man doesn't care if Lord Sect Leader is the same person as this Zhang Qingxiao of Shanghuoming. So what if this Zhang Qingxiao is that Zhang Qingxiao? Doesn't Lord Ji Peng have thousands of incarnations? It's normal for his subordinates to have hundreds and thousands of incarnations. Moreover, Lord Sect Leader has racked his brains for this heavenly demon sect, working hard every day. This old man has seen this merit. It's also for this heavenly demon sect that this old man has been assisting Lord Sect Leader. However, after this old man found out about Shang Huoming, I shockingly discovered that Shang Huoming had disappeared from Yellow Flower Ridge in a single night. This old man has some doubts. If 100 Herb Sect were to take action, aren't their guts too big? Aren't their appetites too good? Of course, no one knows how Shang Huoming's sect was exterminated that year. Even this old man couldn't find any results by several days. However, this old man also doesn't want to investigate, because whether Shang Huoming existed or not has nothing to do with this old man. This old man's purpose in coming to the Three Kingdoms has nothing to do with this sect. Yin Ming's voice became colder. However, this old man has no choice but to ask Lord Sect Leader. Since Lord Sect Leader knows the whereabouts of Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect, and also knows that the Diqinkuan teleportation token is in Xiao Hua's hands, and Lord Sect Leader even has some connections with Xiao Hua. Why did you throw Lord Ji Ping's matter to the back of your mind? Don't you know the true meaning of this Da Qingku teleportation token? At this point, although Yinming didn't point out Zhang Qingxiao's true identity, he had already treated this Zhang Qingxiao as the same person. Immediately, Yinming turned to look at Xiaohua and said, "Moreover, Shanghuaming's Xiaohua also has a mysterious background. When he was in Shanghuaming, he was just a boy who hadn't even reached level 3 of the Qi refining stage. After he came to the Imperial Thunder Sect, his cultivation soared. According to the latest battle report, not only did he make a lot of military exploits, but he even killed Qin Jian. His military exploits are second only to Li Zongbao of the Utopia faction. Lord Sect Leader, don't tell me, you didn't contribute to this? This has nothing to do with me." Zhang Qingxiao said coldly, "I really don't understand. This is an old story from decades ago. Where did you find it? In this world, whether it's the Xiaoyu continent, millions of Ming mountains, or even the demon realm, if you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place. People leave their names and geese leave their voices. As long as you have the heart, you can always find out." Yinming said proudly, then turned to Xiaohua and said, "Don't you think so, fellow cultivator Xiaohua?" That's right. Xiaohua had long wanted to get rid of the Yinming. When he heard Yinming's words, he tore the Yinming away and said coldly, "In this world, only the dead can't reveal secrets. I'm afraid you're really tired of living." You're Xiaohua? When Yinming saw Xiaohua's true face, he couldn't help but be stunned. "I seem to have seen you somewhere before." As Yinming said this, he looked at Zhang Qingxiao and suddenly realized something. "Ha ha ha, so that's how it is." When we were at Lingpei Mountain Villa, Lord Sect Leader had already hidden this matter from me. Lord Sect Leader's shrewdness is really deep. However, Zhang Qingxiao's figure moved slightly and began to circle to the other side of Yinming, forming a triangle with Xiaohua. "What? Lord Sect Leader wants to keep me here?" Yinming wasn't timid, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face as he said indifferently, "That's right." Zhang Qingxiao said calmly, "Junior Marshal Brother Xiao has already said it very well. Only the dead can keep secrets. You know so much, yet you still want to leave this Tianju Peak?" "Ha ha ha ha, I naturally want to leave." Yinming laughed loudly. "This heavenly demon sect has just been established. How can it be established without the sect leader's guidance? I'm the first vice sect leader of the heavenly demon sect. In the absence of a sect leader, it's naturally up to me to lead the heavenly demon sect." "I understand now." Zhang Qingxiao suddenly understood. "So, that Lord Ji Ping's Imo bamboo slip was planned by you all. Lord Ji Peng. He didn't even come to the Cultivation 3 Kingdoms." -11. Chapter 27-29. Ha ha ha, of course. If Lord Ji Peng were here, would you still be standing here obediently? Yinming laughed. "You've had a problem with me for a long time, but you didn't dare to do anything because the heavenly demon sect hasn't been established yet. Now that the heavenly demon sect has been established, I'm no longer of any use to you. Is that why you want to get rid of me?" Zhang Qingxiao said coldly. When Yinming heard this, he shrugged and said with a smile, "This old man didn't want to get rid of you so early. After all, Qing Fengmin and the others have been planning this heavenly demon sect for many years, but they never realized it. Only you can establish the heavenly demon sect. You're indeed very useful. In fact, in my plan, you can always be the sect master of the heavenly demon sect until Lord Ji Peng and the others arrive. It's a pity that you're walking further and further away from Lord Ji Peng. Furthermore, your cultivation is becoming increasingly powerful. If this old man doesn't act now, I'm afraid that you'll kill this old man before I even do anything, especially when I realize that you no longer have Lord Ji Peng in your heart. If I let you develop when Lord Ji Peng arrives, I won't be able to answer to him even if I'm still alive." "So, you used Lord Ji Peng's demonic slip to order us to establish the sect first and then deceived us to come here?" Zhang Qingxiao asked coldly. "Haha, sect master, you're wrong." Yinming clapped his hands and took out the demonic slip. He smiled and said, "This was given to me by Lord Ji Peng. It's used to order you, evil creature. However, I didn't take it out because I've been watching your performance all this time. You. Could it be that you've already? Zhang Qingxiao's expression changed abruptly. That's right. Yin Meng sneered. Although you're good at concealing yourself and hid the aura of the demon realm in your body, I have Lord Jipeng's demonic slip. How can I not know your origin? So what if you erase the demon soul imprint? Do you think your contract with Lord Jipeng will disappear in front of the demon god? Upon hearing the word contract, Zhang Qingxiao trembled involuntarily as if she was extremely afraid. Since you have this demon token, why did you ask me to come to this heaven pillar peak? Zhang Qingxiao's teeth began to chatter. Haha, do you still need to say it? Yin Meng looked at Xiao Hua proudly and said, if he wasn't at Tianju Peak, if he wasn't close to the great Dao cultivation strategy, would this junior brother Xiao of yours be able to appear in time? Could he send the Grand Universe teleportation token over? Ha 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 ha, he has benefited a lot from you. When you are in danger, how can he not help you? Good plan. Good plan. Ha ha ha, I always thought that I had you in the palm of my hand, but I never thought that. You were actually a poison thorn. Zhang Qingxiao laughed like a madman. That's right. Zhang Qingxiao had been enduring silently in front of Yin Meng. She had thought that she was the master of the matter, but in the end, she realized that what she had done was just a farce. Yin Meng had already seen through it. In fact, Yin Meng's arrogance and conceit was just arrogance and conceit to begin with. How can this old man compare to Lord Jipeng? Yin Meng said with a smile. This was all his orders. Hearing the mention of Lord Jipeng, Zhang Qingxiao's body trembled again. Clearly, she was extremely afraid. Xiaohua had been silent all this while. Seeing this scene, he sneered and said, Yin Meng, the three of us will definitely fight today. Either you die or I die. This young master has a question that I really want to know. I wonder if you can answer it. This young master? This old man? Ha ha ha. As expected of senior brother and junior brother. All of you are extremely arrogant. Yin Meng laughed loudly and said, Go ahead and ask. See if this old man wants to answer. It's very simple. Xiao Hua waved his hand and took out the Grand Universe teleportation token. He asked indifferently, this item is merely a Dharma token used for long-distance teleportation arrays. Is it that important? Is it actually worth your scheming? Oh, you are really making things difficult for this old man with this question. Yin Meng glanced coldly at Zhang Qingxiao, whose body was slightly bent, and said, in the entire Dawn Rain continent's 3 cultivation countries, I am afraid that only this old man knows the secret. It's just that this involves the arrival of Lord Jipeng. How can this old man tell you? Hee, if you tell me, this young master might be merciful and not destroy this Dharma token. As Xiaohua spoke, he extended his left hand and held the 2 ends of the Grand Universe teleportation token. He smiled and said, if you don't tell me, don't blame this young master for being ruthless and destroying this Dharma token. That Lord Jipeng of your family can forget about ever coming over. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Do you think that this Grand Universe teleportation token is merely a Dharma token used for teleportation? Yin Meng laughed loudly. You can try. This old man doesn't believe that you can actually destroy this item of the demon realm? What? This Dharma token has other uses? Xiao Hua was slightly stunned, but he had already exerted force in his hand. Who would have thought that the Grand Universe teleportation token would be so incomparably hard? Even when Xiao Hua exerted force in his hand, this item did not budge at all. There was simply no reaction at all. Damn it, there is indeed something fishy about this item. Xiao Hua suddenly understood. This Yin Meng might be using the pretense of repairing the Grand Universe teleportation token as an excuse to do some other tricks. Haha, how about it? Yin Meng looked at Xiao Hua's deflated expression and sneered. This item is completely useless in your hands. If you give it to this old man can still consider letting this evil creature live. As he spoke, Yin Meng glanced at Zhang Qingxiao. Whether I live or die, it is naturally up to me to decide. What does it have to do with you? Zhang Qingxiao roared angrily. He opened his mouth and the bright scenic bell immediately flew out. It turned into a golden light and smashed towards Yin Meng. At the same time, He touched his hand and took out a scarlet triangular flag from his storage pouch. He was just about to wave it. Evil creature. Yin Ming sneered. The devil slip in his hand suddenly released countless black threads that were several feet long. They were like the tentacles of the devil slip. The moment these black threads appeared, the devil slip immediately let out a strange cry. This cry was extremely ear-piercing and rushed into Xiao Hua's ears like a sharp sword. When Xiao Hua saw Zhang Qingxiao make a move, he originally wanted to open his mouth and release the Dream Slayer and Mountain Splitter. However, this devil slip not only pierced his ears, but also his heart. It caused the blood in his veins to surge. It was extremely similar to the feeling during the blood sacrifice. How could Xiao Hua still want to attack? He hastily patted his forehead. Ba! He released the 3-feet-tall Buddha relic. Amidst the wind and snow, the merciful Buddha's light shone brightly, blocking the demonic cry of the black silk. Xiao Hua raised his hand and took out the 5-element staff. He clenched his teeth and stood under the Buddha relic, coldly looking at Yin Ming. This Yin Ming was indeed not simple. Just now, the devil slip of unknown origin caused Xiao Hua to be at a disadvantage, and this disadvantage was secondary. The most important thing was that the devil slip seemed to be Zhang Qingxiao's nemesis. As soon as Zhang Qingxiao heard this devil slip, his entire body trembled rapidly. His limbs did not listen to him at all and curled up together. His entire body even fell down in midair. Moreover, after the waving devil slip trembled, the devil slip suddenly expanded and fell on Zhang Qingxiao's body. The devil slip firmly entangled him, and there were even hundreds of devil slips black slip that pierced his glabella. Hee. Zhang Qingxiao's mouth was wide open, making inexplicable sounds. It seemed like he was howling, but also seemed like he was crying. His round eyes were now white, and his black pupils had shrunk to the size of a bean, slowly rotating in his eye sockets. As Zhang Qingxiao screamed, his corporeal body began to twist and change. Some sharp black thorns suddenly shot out from a certain part of his body, and these black thorns quickly retracted the moment they pierced through his clothes. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. He really did not expect that Zhang Qingxiao would not have any strength to fight back against Yin Ming, and he really understood Zhang Qingxiao's fear from before, as well as his abnormal behavior when he went up the mountain. This Yin Ming was none other than that bullshit Lord Jipeng. With just a devil slip, he was able to torture Zhang Qingxiao to this state. If it was really as Zhang Qingxiao had expected, then when Lord Jipeng came, Zhang Qingxiao would probably be paralyzed, right? What kind of secret technique did you use? You actually managed to erase the devil slip so cleanly? Not only was Xiao Hua shocked, but Yin Ming was also extremely shocked when he saw Zhang Qingxiao struggling under the devil slip's black slip. According to Lord Jipeng, as long as you hear the devil slip's black slip, you will return to your original body. Why are you still struggling after using the 1,000 slips entanglement? You vile spawn. You really want to be a human being? Go! Yin Ming opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of devil slip's black slip towards Zhang Qingxiao. Zhang Qingxiao could not help but cry out loudly. His body under the devil slip's black slip quickly squirmed, as if it had no bones. Devil slip? Go to hell. Xiao Hua felt a pain in his heart. His figure flashed through the air like a breeze and flew in front of Yin Ming. He raised his wishful steel staff and struck towards Yin Ming's head. Oh, it's actually the flowing cloud movement technique? Yin Ming's eyes lit up. He casually waved his hand and a devil slip's black slip rushed out of his sleeves and blocked the wishful steel staff. The devil slip's black slip seemed to have intelligence as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Oomph! The primordial spirit within the Buddha's relic was not stimulated by Xiao Hua. He slightly opened his mouth and said, Lin? Along with the incantation, the Buddha's seal was also pinched and struck out. Oh, you actually understand the Buddhist mantra? Seeing Xiao Hua's Buddha's relic strike out, the golden Buddha's light fell. Although this Lin word had the effect of transcendence, it was not used for fighting. However, under the Buddha's light, the devil slip's black slip was like a snowflake under the strong light. It instantly melted, and the devil slip's black slip -11. Chapter 27:30. Seeing that the Buddhist mantra was effective, Xiaohua opened his mouth again without hesitation. The confrontation character spiraled in the air and fell towards Zhang Qingxiao. "You dare!" Yin Ming shouted angrily. He also opened his mouth and a black light rushed out. It turned into a black net in front of the mantra to block it. With a pu sound, the confrontation character fell and broke the black net. It landed on Zhang Qingxiao's body without stopping. "See, you." Yin Ming was shocked. He did not expect that in just a few decades, Xiaohua's Buddhist cultivation had actually reached such a high realm. It was precisely his nemesis. When the confrontation character landed on Zhang Qingxiao's body, it made a ZZ sound. Although the black threads disappeared like melting snow, the golden mantra was also exhausted. And, seeing this, Xiaohua did not find it strange. These black threads were the demonic order bestowed by Lord Ji Peng. If it was broken by his simple mantra, then it would be strange. Confrontation, confrontation, confrontation. Xiaohua directly urged the Buddha Sarira to land between him and Zhang Qingxiao. One mantra after another landed on it. "Ha ha ha, this old man has not seen your Vajradharma body for many years. Come, come, come. Let this old man see what realm your Vajradharma body has reached." Yin Ming naturally would not allow Xiaohua to single-mindedly break the seal. He slapped his forehead, and a black aura emerged from the top of his head. It rushed straight into the air and enveloped an area of several dozen feet around him. At the same time, the black gas produced thousands of ghostly wails and wolf howls. It was extremely ear-piercing. Following the emergence of the black gas, other parts of Yin Ming's body also surged with black gas. This black gas was different from the black gas above his head. It was like thousands of tentacles covering Yin Ming's entire body. Roar! A muffled roar came from Yin Ming's throat. His body, which was already completely covered by the black gas, began to squirm like Zhang Qingxiao. The black gas on the surface also suddenly surged like boiling water. At the same time, an indescribable deterrence was emitted from the black qi, and it quickly rushed towards Xiaohua. Sigh, Xiaohua sighed slightly. He clapped his hands and released the pressure of an early-stage gold core cultivator. He tried his best to resist this demonic deterrence that seemed to be baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. However, in just a moment, Xiaohua felt that something was wrong. This kind of deterrence from Yin Ming seemed to be constantly surging over, and it was even climbing steadily. Very soon, it covered his own pressure. That feeling of being unable to resist and feeling of powerlessness came from the depths of his heart. Golden core, golden core. However, this is merely the threshold of cultivation. If I were to stay in the demon-resisting valley, I would be nothing more than a pawn. As he thought this, Xiaohua did his best to use his secret technique to deceive the heavens and cross the sea, slowly increasing the pressure. Little thing. You actually know the secret technique of pressure? A sharp voice came out from the black qi. It seemed to be different from the Yin Ming's voice. It was the voice of the devil world that Xiaohua had heard in Lingpei Mountain Villa. Of course, I understand. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. Xiaohua smiled coldly. He raised the wishful staff in his hand and prepared to fly towards Yin Ming. Ha ha ha, just a little thing. You actually dare to show off in front of me. Where is your Buddhist Dharmakaya? To fight with a nobody from the devil world like you, do I still need to use my Dharmakaya? Xiaohua said in a disdainful tone. Ha ha ha, you only know one Buddhist mantra, and you still dare to exaggerate? I'll let you see how powerful I am. As Yin Ming spoke, another angry roar was emitted from the black gas. Following the angry roar, the black gas suddenly expanded and stood upright in midair. The swarming black gas was like a fountain that shot upwards by more than 40 feet. A huge force was generated from the black gas, pushing aside everything within 100 feet. Even if Xiaohua wanted to fly to Yin Ming's side, he would not be able to do so. Xiaohua was helpless. He could only open his mouth, and the Dream Executor and Mountain Breaker flew out. They circled in midair and flew to the other side of Yin Ming. Hum, hum, hum. Just after the Dream Executor and Mountain Breaker flew past the black qi, The 4 feet-tall black chi let out a loud roar, and then quickly shrank. When the impact gradually disappeared, a 4 feet-tall giant appeared in midair. The giant's head was big, and its blood-red hair was curled into a ball. Its fist-sized eyes were black, and there were no ordinary eyeballs. In its bloody mouth, 2 long fangs stretched out obliquely, and a garlic-like nose poked the face that was bigger than a basin. The giant was completely naked, and the black gas from before had already turned into a demonic armor that covered his vital parts. There were strange patterns on the demonic armor, and the patterns were constantly overflowing with a pitch-black brilliance. In the middle of the patterns, the demonic armor was filled with a blood-red substance. Outside of the magic armor was the giant's strong arms. The muscles on the arms were bulging and glossy, and from time to time, there were traces of black chi going in and out of them. "Grandma, how can I fight with this?" Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. Although he was considered a tall cultivator, it was impossible for him to be more than 10 feet tall. This Yinming's body was actually more than 4 feet tall. Standing in front of Yinming's body, Xiaohua looked like a child. "Little thing, where is your Dharma body?" A few feet-long flying sword stood out from the black chi. Illusory sword? Yinming obviously also understood sword cultivation very well, and could not help but be stunned. "You? How can you be an illusory sword cultivator?" Wang, as soon as the heart sword was born, it immediately emitted an endless sword intent. The sword chi also penetrated from the sword light, directly piercing towards Yinming's big hand. Yinming did not dare to be careless. His hand slightly rotated, and a cluster of black chi was born from the palm of his hand, wrapping around the heart sword. "Go to hell!" Xiaohua roared, and his figure flew up again. The wishful steel staff crossed in midair, and the thunder under his feet moved. He borrowed the power of the staff, and the sound of thunder from the staff, and smashed towards the giant Yinming without arrogance. The wishful steel staff still had the sound of the wind, but under the roar of thunder, the sound of the wind could not be heard. The suffocating force above the staff stirred up the black gas on the Yinming demon armor from afar. A strange flow of black gas and blood appeared on the Yinming demon armor out of thin air. -11. Chapter 27:31. Yinming was originally attracted by the heart sword, but now he was disturbed by the wishful steel staff. He was furious. Roar! He simply retracted his hand and allowed the heart sword to grow bigger and bigger in the black gas. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood-red light, which enveloped the area of 10 feet around the heart sword. He held the mace with both hands and attacked Xiaohua's wishful steel staff. Fortunately, Yinming made a decision. Xiaohua's attack seemed slow, but in fact, it was really fast. It was absolutely different from the first attack just now. In the blink of an eye, it fell on Yinming's left shoulder. It was where the black gas came from. Boom! There was a loud noise, as if the entire Tianju peak was blown up by a huge wave. The craggy rocks on the peak were torn apart by the force of the collision between the two. Rumble! The rocks tumbled down from the foothills on all sides. Kong! Just as Xiaohua's seemingly thin and weak body was sent flying like a piece of duckweed, the black gas behind Yinming rapidly spun under the bloody light. It was as if countless sentient tentacles had blocked the heart sword. Threads of bloody light seeped into the black gas in an attempt to corrupt the flying sword. With a long cry from the heart sword, the piercing sword light penetrated the black gas and pierced through the blood light. The sword light was like a rainbow, stabbing straight at Yinming's back. Yinming sent Xiaohua flying, but he himself was also not in a good state. His huge body suddenly flew backwards, and this flying sword just happened to stab diagonally into the magic armor on his back. Buzz! The green and red sword light flashed, and the black gas on the magic armor was defeated. Although the black gas combined with the blood light quickly transformed into patterns, and there was an indescribable fluctuation, the sword light still went in. Roar! Yinming let out a sad cry, and his whole body shook rapidly. His whole head and feet turned strangely, and his front heart turned into his back. Unexpectedly, his back was facing Xiaohua. Woo! Where the flying sword pierced, there was no blood light. Instead, the black gas surged rapidly, and countless black gas covered the flying sword, as if to swallow the flying sword into the body. Not good. Feeling the surge of the devil chi, his connection with the flying sword weakened. Xiaohua was slightly shocked. The moment his body floated, he hurriedly used the ethereal steps and the wind escape technique. Like a ghost in the air, he instantly appeared behind Yin Ming. Woo! The wishful steel staff struck again. Oh, not good. Although Yin Ming paid attention to Xiaohua, he did not expect Xiaohua's actions to be so fast. How could he dare to deal with the flying sword with all his strength? He hurriedly waved the wishful staff again. Taking advantage of Yin Ming's distraction, the sword light of the heart sword suddenly expanded and slashed a hole several feet in front of Yin Ming's heart before rushing out. Woo! Although there was no trace of blood, Yin Ming still couldn't help but cry out in pain. Little thing. I devil 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 demon devil. Yin Ming sent Xiaohua flying away with his mace, then said viciously, Di Luo, that bastard, didn't he give you too many things? Di Luo? Xiaohua was slightly stunned. He did not understand what Yin Ming was talking about, but he did not pay attention to it. The soul of Zhu Dream urged the entire heart of sword to fly into the air. The flashing green and red sword light flashed slightly, and two heart-shaped sword intents appeared at the same time, one from the left and one from the right, piercing towards Yin Ming. At the same time, Xiaohua threw out a fire talisman, which fell at Yin Ming's feet. Rumble. The fire talisman exploded, and waves of fire soared into the sky. The huge impact and flames instantly blew apart the lower half of Yin Ming's body. Streams of demonic energy rolled in the flames, and Yin Ming's exasperated curses and roars were drowned out by the waves of fire. Ha ha ha! What devil cultivator? What deity? Nothing more than this. Xiaohua sneered and looked at Zhang Qingxiao. The Buddha's Saraira was the nemesis of the devil cultivator, but Xiaohua was afraid that Zhang Qingxiao would be in danger. He did not dare to use the Buddha's Saraira against the enemy. He could only rely on the Buddhist mantra to maintain Zhang Qingxiao's current situation. At this time, it was still the same as before. Although the Buddha's light and the mantra's golden light fell, the black silk wrapped around Zhang Qingxiao did not show any signs of collapse. Army? Do. Xiaohua was a bit anxious. He did not care whether the mantra would harm Zhang Qingxiao or not, and spat out the two mantras in succession. The army mantra was still okay. It was no different from the confrontation mantra. When it fell on it, it only dispersed the black chi on the surface, and the black chi recovered in a moment. However, the Do mantra was a bit strange. It actually turned into strands of golden silk and fell into the black chi. Zhang Qingxiao's body wriggled even more violently in the black chi, and all kinds of devil thorns crazily rushed out from various parts of her body. Damn it, is this right or wrong? Xiaohua was a bit helpless. But at this time, without waiting for him to do anything, a cold voice came from behind him. No matter what deity fought in the so-called Imperial Demon Valley, don't tell me you want to rely on this bullshit spirit talisman to kill deity? Xiaohua frowned slightly. When he turned his head, he was a bit dumbfounded. But he saw that Yin Ming was different from before. Her legs that were destroyed by the fire talisman had recovered, and her originally bare legs were now covered with black chi. He opened his mouth and spat out a ball of fierce flame. He was about to use the divine flame art, but at this moment, behind Qing Xian, a burst of sword cries rang out. An indescribable, bone-piercing pain entered Xiaohua's primordial spirit. Not good. Xiaohua was greatly alarmed. He hurriedly urged his sword art to retrieve his flying swords. Don't you think it's too late to retrieve them now? Qing Xian sneered. He clenched his hand, and a black flame like a waterfall rushed towards the two flying swords that were already besieged by the devil flame. Looking at the Dream Executor and Mountain Splitter, the green-red sword radiance rapidly swallowed and spat out, and also slowly contracted. The strands of devil flame had already seeped into the sword intent of the heart sword along with the sword radiance. It was precisely the two flying swords that were burning. Xiaohua now also cared about the fierce flame. The sword essence around his body surged, and bursts of sword radiance were released from his body. A huge sword of 2 zhang in size appeared where Xiaohua was. It was actually very similar to a sword cultivator's sword transformation. However, at the core of this huge sword, Xiaohua's figure still existed. He did not merge with the sword radiance. Under the lingering sword radiance, Xiaohua's face was slightly embarrassed. Break! Xiaohua snorted coldly. The huge sword streaked across the sky and directly slashed towards Qing Xian. Wherever the sword radiance passed, it actually split apart the monstrous devil flame. Hiss! Qing Xian was originally shocked when he saw Xiaohua transform into a sword, but when he saw that Xiaohua himself could not transform into a sword, he did not feel it was funny. However, when the sword radiance fell, he was stunned. He could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The flying swords that Xiaohua transformed into were neither fish nor fowl, but the fierceness of the sword qi could not be faked. Moreover, before the huge sword fell, the imprisonment comparable to a sword transformation had already appeared around Qing Xian and surged towards Qing Xian, as if it wanted to squeeze Qing Xian. -11. Chapter 2732. This little thing is really an illusory sword cultivator? Qing Xian was not surprised. He shook his shoulder, and demonic flames surged out from his body. He tried his best to burn away the shackles, and at the same time, he raised his mace. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Another huge sound rang out. This time, it was even more intense than the previous ones. Qing Xian's 12 zhang tall devil body was struck down by Xiaohua's huge sword. A huge hole appeared in the space surrounded by the black flames. Return, Xiaohua opened his mouth. Zhu Ming and Hua Shan took the opportunity to fly across the sky and landed in front of Xiaohua with the black flames. Oomph! Xiaohua's eyes turned. He slapped his hand, and the yin-yang sword gourd flew out, stopping right next to the 2 flying swords. Extinguish! Xiaohua grabbed with his hand, and the yin-yang sleeve came out. In an instant, the black flames on the flying swords were extinguished. Then, he pointed with his hand, and the 2 flying swords fell into the yin-yang sword gourd. Xiaohua held the sword gourd in his hand, and the sword light around his body flashed. He coldly looked at the flustered Qing Xian who was flying up from the black flames. Without waiting for him to stabilize himself in the air, he chanted a mantra. The 2 red and green flying swords, which were actually stored in the space, flew into the air with the sword gourd, and directly pierced towards Qing Xian's head. You're courting death. Qing Xian opened his mouth, and a mouthful of bloody light blocked the flying swords. No matter how the flying swords looked for a flaw, they could not pierce through. Xiaohua was helpless. He pointed at the yin-yang sword gourd, and the 2 flying swords returned. Damn it, little thing. This sovereign saw that your body was not bad. This sovereign wanted to use you as a meat cauldron, but you actually don't know what's good for you. Qing Xian angrily shouted, "Hand over your life." As he spoke, he opened his mouth again, and several mouthfuls of bloody light fell into the black flames. The black flames set off waves of fire, and they rushed towards Xiaohua. It's just demonic flames. What's so great about them? Xiaohua sneered. The icicle flame from before became even more vigorous. It flashed red around Xiaohua's body, and he fearlessly flew towards the black flames. Boom! Xiaohua usually used the frigid death flame to refine equipment, but he had never used it against an enemy. However, the frigid death flame, which was like a crimson dragon, was not inferior to the Yi-Yang fan from before. It directly threw itself into the black flames. Kiki, how can such ordinary flames be a match for my sect's black flames? Qing Xian let out an arrogant laugh. He brandished the mace in his hand and chopped towards Xiaohua. Xiaohua knew that although the wishful steel staff was heavy, it was really too small. He would not be able to take advantage of this guy. He simply did not use the wishful steel staff, and still turned it into a sword and slashed towards Qing Xian. Boom! Another huge sound rang out. The sword light around Xiaohua's body flickered rapidly, and Qing Xian was sent flying again. It was another tie. However, the same couldn't be said for Lingyin Zhuhua. Just as Qing Xian had said, when the crimson dragons rushed into the black flames, Perhaps they couldn't compare to the black flames, or perhaps there were too few of them. They were completely annihilated by the black flames and disappeared. Looking at the black flames that pounced towards him once again, Xiaohua frowned. With a wave of his hands, two purple flames appeared in his hands. The pure as crystal Samadhi true fire immediately forced the black flames in front of him to retreat. Oh, Samadhi true fire? Qing Xian was not surprised that Xiaohua had Samadhi true fire. However, seeing this unusually pure Samadhi true fire, he was somewhat moved. This was definitely the first time he had seen something like this in his life. Immediately, the previously extinguished thought of taking over his body was born again. This little thing's physical body is much stronger than this Yin Ming. Not only is it of the fire attribute, but it has also practiced flying swords. That physical body is absolutely strong. If this sovereign takes over his body, advancing to Devil General is not a problem. Go. How could Xiaohua know what Qing Xian was thinking? Both of his hands waved the fire-controlling art. Dozens of Samadhi true fire danced in the air like needles, rushing towards the top of his head, as if wanting to break through the black flames. Haha, it's just Samadhi true fire. How can it break through this sect's black flames? Qing Xian laughed. Little thing, you should obediently surrender. This sovereign will tell you the secret of devil cultivators. Go. Xiaohua did not say anything and pointed his finger at the sword gourd. The execution dream and mountain splitter flew out again, stabbing towards Qing Xian. Hmph! Qing Xian waved his hand and the black flames flashed with a bloody light, blocking the two flying swords. When Xiaohua withdrew the flying swords again, the mace in Qing Xian's hand involuntarily moved, as if waiting for Xiaohua's sword attack. Sure enough, Xiaohua urged the sword light around his body, and with a woo sound, it chopped over. Rumble, the devil flames around Qing Xian rushed out crazily. The wishful staff in his hand barely blocked the giant's sword. Qing Xian himself fell several feet and sent Xiaohua flying. But how could Xiaohua be sent flying? The sword light around his body suddenly became resplendent, and the sword chi above his head pounced towards the Samadhi true fire that was already tearing apart the black flames. The Samadhi true fire was much stronger than the Lingyi Zhu fire. Although the quantity was very small, it was already able to resist the black flames and tear a small hole in the black flames. Now that Xiaohua had turned into a sword and stabbed into the small hole, the black flames were immediately split open and forced to retreat. A ray of light shot in from outside the black flames. "Want to leave?" "No way." Xiaohua was just about to rush out when he heard Qing Xian's mockery. He saw that in the black flames that were forced to roll, countless blood threads rushed out and quickly condensed into a blood net above the giant's sword. The sword light and sword chi fell into the blood threads and were immediately corroded. Seeing the sword light of the giant's sword disappear very quickly, the blood threads under Qing Xian's urging endlessly poured out. Xiaohua had no choice but to retreat. Because of several sword transformations, the sword chi in Xiaohua's body could no longer support him. His thin and tall figure gradually appeared again. It's really only the third grade of the illusory sword realm. Qing Xian smiled with satisfaction. To be able to retreat from this sovereign's blood pool, you can be proud. It's better for you to be proud of yourself. Xiaohua waved his hands as if to use the thunder summoning technique, but to his surprise, there was no reaction at all. It seemed to be completely blocked by the black flames. Not good. Xiaohua's heart tightened and unconsciously pointed his finger at the sword gourd. Whoosh whoosh. The two flying swords rushed out again and still stabbed towards Qing Xian's head. This time, Qing Xian was impatient. He waved his hand as if swatting a fly. The black flames rushed over and blocked the flying swords, and his attention was once again focused on Xiaohua's following attack. Xiaohua naturally wouldn't let him down. With a shake of his hand, he took out the wishful staff and threw it in front of him again with a bang. After Qing Xian easily sent Xiaohua flying, the Dream Slayer and Mountain Splitter flew back into the sword gourd. However, at this time, Xiaohua waved his hand and a talisman flew out. This talisman was shabby. Xiaohua had obtained it in the Imperial Thunder Sect's Eastern Ridge Herb Garden, but he hadn't used it much. At this time, as Xiao Hua urged his spiritual power, an incomplete big hand appeared from the talisman. Following Xiao Hua's figure, it grabbed towards the black flames. The hand of a nascent soul? Qing Xian was slightly surprised, but after sweeping it with his devil sense, he smiled again. What kind of talisman is this? It looks like the hand of a nascent soul, but it doesn't have the power of a nascent soul. To deal with a little devil like you, is there a need to use the hand of a nascent soul? Xiao Hua urged his golden core. The spiritual power of the golden core rushed out from the two yin and yang meridians. Those incomplete meridians were faintly uncomfortable. Buzz, when the large hand grabbed the black flame, it was as if it was tearing apart a piece of cloth. A 10-feet-long tear appeared. However, the spiritual talisman was immediately contaminated by the black flame. It emitted black smoke and burned at an extremely fast speed. Rumble. Taking advantage of this opening, Xiao Hua waved his hands and used the lightning drawing technique. Dark clouds rolled over Tianju Peak, and countless lightning flashed in the dark clouds. Imperial Thunder Technique? Qing Xian was shocked. He looked at the horizon in disbelief, then lowered his head to look at Xiao Hua, who was waving his hands. You are a golden core cultivator. How is it possible? Kachacha. The sound of thunder like a drum pulled Qing Xian back from his shock. He couldn't see any understanding in his eyes. Instead, he shouted in a sharp voice, Imperial Thunder Sect's Thunder Immortal. Who is he to you? Thunder Immortal? Xiao Hua was slightly stunned. However, he immediately understood. Obediently let this young master kill you? Ha ha ha. This sovereign suffered a great loss at the hands of the Thunder Immortal. These thousands of years, I've always been thinking about how to avoid the lightning strikes and how to kill him. Now that I can't see the Thunder Immortal, killing his disciple is also a happy thing. Qing Xian laughed loudly. He opened his mouth and another ball of bloody light flew out. You think this sovereign can't block the lightning strikes? -11. Chapter 27:33. Damn it, I've been tricked. Hearing Qing Xian's words, Xiao Hua's heart sank. He felt that he had overreached himself. The bloodlight that Qing Xian spat out was different from before. Once it landed in the air, it immediately turned into blood shadows and rushed into the black flames that were scattered by the lightning. The black flames immediately stopped flowing and turned into all kinds of strange shapes. They looked like demonic beasts and demons. They covered the black flames. Kill. Xiao Hua was curious. He waved his hands and dozens of lightning bolts fell and hit the black flames. The protrusions on the black flames were the first to hit the lightning bolts. Under the lightning, the protrusions were immediately flattened. Countless golden lightning bolts covered the protrusions. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time that the lightning bolts fell on the black flames, blood threads similar to the lightning bolts were released from the collapsed areas. Sizzle, sizzle. Countless sizzling sounds rang out from all around the black flames. The power of the heavenly lightning was actually corroded by the blood threads, and it melted away in an instant. Hiss! Xiao Hua unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. Looking at the strange blood threads, he was stunned. He understood that if it was before the lightning tribulation, it would be reasonable for Qing Xian to break his lightning bolts. He didn't feel surprised. However, after going through the lightning tribulation, his gold core contained the inner cores of the male and female lightning beasts. His lightning controlling technique had a qualitative leap. At this time, the lightning bolts were several times stronger than before. Even Xiao Hua's body felt a little numb. This was the backlash of the lightning bolts that Qing Xian said. Even such a powerful method couldn't destroy the blood threads. No wonder Qing Xian, who couldn't gain the upper hand after several exchanges, wasn't nervous at all. He was still fighting with him methodically. This guy isn't afraid, but this young master is? Xiao Hua looked at the Buddha's light that blocked the black flames a few feet away. No matter if it was the black flames or the blood threads, once they touched the Buddha's light, they were like snowflakes meeting fire. They instantly melted. Xiao Hua sneered again. At worst, this young master will use the Buddhist sect's techniques to face the enemy. I'll use the innate true water to kill this guy. Furthermore, in the end, I had to sacrifice my cultivation base to kill you with my spiritual flame. Thinking to this point, Xiao Hua's courage was boosted. He pulled with both hands, and another 100 bolts of heavenly lightning fell. Seeing Xiao Hua easily draw the heavenly lightning to extinguish his black flames, Qing Xian's heart was in turmoil. He really didn't expect Xiao Hua to have such a trick up his sleeve. Don't hesitate anymore. Qing Xian steeled his heart and began to recite the cryptic syllables. As he recited the syllables, Qing Xian's lower body gradually became blurry. Damn it! Who said that the people of the demon realm only know how to use demonic tools? When Xiao Hua heard this inexplicable syllable, he suddenly felt uneasy in his heart. He cursed in his heart and continuously used the lightning controlling technique. Heavenly lightning fell down, wanting to destroy the space surrounded by the black flames. Roar! From below Qing Xian's body, countless black flames mixed with blood-red light surged out and let out a strange roar. The black flames then formed all kinds of shapes, and the strange roar came from these shapes. These black flames spread towards Xiao Hua like a tide, as if countless ants were rushing towards a lonely piece of bone. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept across the area, and he immediately understood that these numerous shapes all contained different types of demonic beast souls. These demonic beast souls formed something like a demonic array to attack him. If these black flames and demonic beast souls pounced on him, he would become a delicacy in the mouths of these demonic beast souls. It's time. Xiao Hua calculated for a moment and waved his hand. After a thick bolt of heavenly lightning fell, the wishful staff appeared in his hand again. Quick! Xiao Hua pointed his finger at the yin-yang sword gourd. 2 green and red sword lights flew out from the sword gourd and drew 2 arcs in the air, flying towards Qing Xian's head. Tumph! Boring. Qing Xian waved his hand very naturally, and another blood-red light emerged from the black flames, blocking in front of the green and red sword lights. He also held the wolf-tooth mace in his hand, and his devil sense fell on Xiao Hua's wishful staff. The green and red sword lights were the same as before. When they flew to the top of Qing Xian's head, they were blocked by the blood-red light, and then they also retreated. But after retreating a few inches, they suddenly accelerated, and from the sides of the blood-red light, they fell straight on Qing Xian's neck. The green and red sword lights were so fast and so flexible, it was simply beyond Qing Xian's expectations. When Qing Xian realized it, the sword lights had already surrounded his huge neck and slashed. No, these are not the 2 flying swords just now. By the time Qing Xian could tell that one of the 2 sword lights was scarlet red and the other was azure, and not a mix of azure and red, he was scared out of his wits. He even cried out, This seems to be Spirit Slayer. Unfortunately, he didn't have time to say the 2 words primordial light before the green and red sword lights twisted around his neck and a bloody mark appeared on his neck. With a loud pong, the huge head soared from his neck, and from where the head was cut off, black gas and blood-red light rushed out. Woo! Like the whistling of the wind, all the black flames, black gas, and blood-red light lost control, and like 10,000 streams returning to the origin, they poured into the soaring black gas and blood-red light. Qing Xian's giant body began to collapse, and streams of black gas rolled out from his body. The deterrents that had been suppressing Xiao Hua also receded like a tide, and Xiao Hua couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He knew in his heart that under his calculations, this Qing Xian was finally killed. What a scary but not dangerous experience. Thinking about the somewhat difficult fight just now, Xiao Hua was extremely emotional. He pointed his finger at the sword gourd, and the spirit execution primordial light fell into the sword gourd again. He glanced at Zhang Qingxiao, who had stopped to rest. At this moment, Zhang Qingxiao's body was still surrounded by black gas, and the blood-red light didn't disappear because of Qing Xian's extermination. This is a bit troublesome, Xiao Hua thought, and his figure was about to fly over. However, at this moment, an extremely cold and unfamiliar voice came from the collapsing black gas of Qing Xian. You little bug, you actually have the spirit execution primordial light. Moreover, you actually know how to control this ancient killing aura. Looking at the method, It must be that bastard Di Luo who told you, right? Who? Xiao Hua was shocked and hurriedly stabilized his body. However, the black flames that had originally retreated suddenly changed color, and all of them turned scarlet and once again surrounded the surroundings. D. Blood drop paradise? Looking at the space that looked like a huge drop of blood and the scarlet walls, Xiao Hua seemed to have thought of something, and with a look of disbelief, he looked at the black gas that was still rolling in the center of the space and said, "You actually still have blood refinement after cultivating the devil flame? Little bug, you know the cultivation methods of the devil realm very well." The voice was very unfamiliar, and Xiao Hua felt that it definitely wasn't Qing Xian, and definitely not Yin Ming. Since you can understand the sword cultivation methods, and also the Buddhist techniques, and even control the spirit execution primordial light, then why can't I understand the devil flame and the blood drop paradise? You're not Yin Ming, and you're not Qing Xian, who are you? Xiao Hua held the yin-yang sword gourd tightly in his hand, and only then did he feel a trace of safety in his heart and couldn't help but ask, "Hee, didn't you already hear of my name before? Don't you also know about the blood drop paradise?" The voice was neither fast nor slow, and said indifferently, "Ji Peng? You're really Ji Peng?" Xiao Hua looked at the rolling black gas, but didn't see any demons appear, and couldn't help but be surprised. Weren't you at Million Ming Mountains? When did you come to the Dawn Rain continent? However, Ji Peng didn't answer him, and countless woo-woo sounds came from the black gas. The rhythm was very strange, and hearing it gave Xiao Hua goosebumps all over his body. Xiao Hua's mind raced. Although the voice didn't admit that it was the devil general Ji Peng, but other than Ji Peng, Xiao Hua couldn't think of any other devil general. Moreover, Zhang Qingxiao had said clearly that she was most afraid of this Ji Peng, and even the method that Qing Xian used to deal with Zhang Qingxiao was taught by Ji Peng. Of course, Xiao Hua now understood that Qing Xian wasn't the only one in Yin Ming's body. There was also Ji Peng. The one who had restrained Zhang Qingxiao might not have been Qing Xian. It was most likely Ji Peng. Moreover, what made Xiao Hua most nervous was that when Zhang Qingxiao ordered Xiao Hua to use the spirit-slaying origin light to kill Ji Peng, it was based on the assumption that Ji Peng possessed the body of a cultivator from the Dawn Rain continent. For example, although Qing Xian was a devil general of the devil realm, and it just cutting off his head wouldn't necessarily kill Qing Xian, he was currently possessing Yin Ming. Although Qing Xian had already revealed his devil body, cutting off his head could still kill Yin Ming, and similarly, Qing Xian. But now, Xiao Hua's spirit-slaying origin light had already succeeded and killed Yin Ming and Qing Xian. But Ji Peng, who Zhang Qingxiao was most afraid of, had appeared again. What method could Xiao Hua use to deal with Ji Peng? Was it still the spirit-slaying origin light that Zhang Qingxiao was most confident in? Furthermore, based on the current situation, it was needless to say that Ji Peng's spirit clone, like Qing Xian, had always been with Yin Ming in the heavenly demonic sect. He must have seen everything that Zhang Qingxiao had done. Qing Xian's anger towards Zhang Qingxiao was also because of Ji Peng. Qing Xian wanted to replace Zhang Qingxiao, so he might not necessarily want Zhang Qingxiao's life. However, Ji Peng would definitely want Zhang Qingxiao's life for betraying him. In that case, Xiao Hua had to fight Ji Peng to the death. Swift. When he thought up to here, Xiao Hua didn't dare hesitate any longer. He pointed with his finger, and then two green and red sword lights appeared within the yin-yang sword gourd, and they drew two arcs in midair before falling into the black chi once more. -11. Chapter 27:34. With a clear swoosh, a ball of blood suddenly sprayed out from where the sword light landed. This blood light was the size of a basin, and it just happened to block the sword light. The green and red sword light slightly paused in midair, and then separated, falling towards the edge of the blood light. However, the blood light was as intelligent as the sword light. At the same time, it also split into two, and once again blocked the sword light from falling. Now, after several attempts, the spirit execution vital light was unable to pierce through the black gas. Kill. Xiao Hua's face was stunned, and he urged the vital light again. With a swoosh, the brilliance of the two sword lights increased, and they directly pierced into the blood light. Hiss, 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 like cold water falling into a pot of oil. The entire blood light exploded. However, just as the sword light broke through the blood light and landed again, two balls of blood spurted out from the black gas. The sword light landed squarely on the balls of blood. With a clang sound, the sword light immediately became much dimmer. Not good. Xiao Hua was greatly alarmed, and he hurriedly urged the yin-yang sword gourd. Unexpectedly, the blood seemed to have an extremely strong suction force, and the two flying swords were actually unable to break free. Damn it! Xiao Hua's gold core surged, and his magic power rushed out. The yin-yang sword gourd flashed with golden light, and with a swoosh, the mouth of the sword gourd also suddenly released a huge force. With two swoosh sounds, the green and red sword light finally broke free from the blood and flew back. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over, and it was precisely the flying sword that fell into the sword gourd. The originally sparkling and translucent flying sword now had some specks of blood on it, and it was obviously stained by the blood. He couldn't help but feel a bit of heartache, and he knew that it would take a lot of effort to get rid of the blood. Little bug, you really have a lot of tricks. That cold voice once again came out from the rolling black gas. However, just relying on this incomplete spirit execution vital light, you still aren't this lord's opponent. Humph. Xiao Hua sneered. He slapped his hand and took out the ocean overturning seal. Under the urging of his magic power, the coiling dragon held the seal in its mouth and smashed it towards the black gas. Its might was clearly several times stronger than before it condensed its core. Ha 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 ha, how can these worthless transcendent treasures hurt me? Ji Peng laughed loudly. This time, there was no need for any blood-red light. A ball of black flames flew out, and like a blooming lotus, it stopped the ocean-overturning seal. The ocean-overturning seal tumbled a few times, but it was unable to land. Little bug, your magic weapon is getting worse. Ji Peng chuckled. The black gas vibrated violently and shrank rapidly. Countless blood vessels surged out of the black gas and wrapped around it. A demon body that was close to 15 meters in size appeared in front of Xiao Hua's eyes, flashing with a blood-red brilliance. Hiss! It's really you. Looking at the demon body that was 3 meters taller than Qing Xian, then looking at the extremely ugly face of the demon body, Xiao Hua's eyes revealed a thoughtful expression as he spoke coldly. That's right. The current Ji Peng was the one that Xiao Hua had seen in the demon's den on Thousandjiang Peak when he was still a rogue cultivator several decades ago. It was that huge statue, that tall, blood-red and ugly demon. Even Ji Peng's tall and protruding forehead, as well as his upturned nose and fangs in his mouth. What surprised Xiao Hua the most was that there was actually a thin membrane between the man's two arms that was connected to his back. It's really you? You have actually seen this lord before? Ji Peng was different from Qing Xian. Ji Peng seemed to be able to sense Xiao Hua's divine consciousness. He laughed and said, "You can't even break through Qing Xian's black flames. What kind of talisman are you relying on? You can forget about this sovereign's paradise. Looking at your physical body, you can actually control lightning. You must be extremely powerful. Compared to this Yin Ming or Du Peng, you must be stronger. Wait until this sovereign enjoys your physical body, then I'll go look for lightning. Hee, who knows, this sovereign's lightning cultivation might even surpass that guy's." Possession. Xiao Hua understood. Yin Ming's corporeal body had already been killed by him, and Qing Xian had probably died along with Yin Ming. As for this Ji Peng, he had used some kind of mystical ability from the demon realm to survive. What he needed to do now was to find a suitable corporeal body to possess and survive. And Xiao Hua was his best target. Thinking about possession, Xiao Hua's heart calmed down. He naturally thought of his sealed Naiwan palace and the little white dragon in his soul. Although the little white dragon had gone through a lightning tribulation and was now weak, it could not be disturbed. However, now that it was a matter of life and death, it had no choice but to put in some effort. Others might be afraid of this demon general's possession, but did Xiao Hua need to be afraid? Of course, Xiao Hua's face still showed fear. He was clearly very afraid. Ji Peng waved his hand, and the blood-red hand grabbed the seal of tumbling sea. This magic treasure that even third-grade illusory sword cultivators feared was now in Ji Peng's hands, like a child's toy. Hee, the quality of this magic treasure is really not bad. If it is cultivated properly, it can really step into the ranks of spiritual weapons. Previously, this sovereign really made a mistake. Ji Peng said indeed 3 times in one breath. It was obvious that he admired the seal of tumbling sea. Then, Ji Peng glanced at Xiaohua, and the smile on his ugly face became even wider. He said, "What other good things do you have? Why don't you let this sovereign take a look? Perhaps this sovereign will be happy and leave you a remnant soul. I'll let you enter the cycle of reincarnation." "Humph," Xiaohua sneered, and the fear on his face lessened. He waved his hand and tried the lightning controlling technique. As expected, this blood-drop paradise was even more sealed than Qing Xian's black flames. None of the lightning flashed. "Don't be delusional." The fluctuation of the spell immediately attracted Ji Peng's attention. He sneered and said, although Lei Ting's lightning controlling technique is powerful, he was still injured by this sovereign in this sovereign's blood-drop paradise. If even he can't do it, how can you, a disciple, succeed? As he spoke, Ji Peng looked at the other side of the blood-drop paradise. The Buddha's Sarira was also dimming in the blood-drop paradise. However, the Buddhist mantras were still coming out of the Buddha's mouth and landing on the black gas. Xiaohua was afraid that if the mantras were to stop, something would happen to Zhang Qingxiao. Evil creature. Ji Peng looked at Zhang Qingxiao with a cold gaze. He scolded and grabbed with his hand. Several rays of blood-red light landed on Zhang Qingxiao's body. In an instant, he caught the black gas and brought it in front of him. As for Xiaohua's Buddha's Sarira, Ji Peng didn't even care about it. It was as if it was harmless to him. Xiaohua was helpless. He urged the Sarira to return to the top of his head and put away the Buddha's seal. He opened his compassionate eyes and looked at Ji Peng. Although Buddhism is the nemesis of demonic cultivators, it seems to be effective against the demonic cultivators of the demonic world as well. It's a pity that my cultivation level is too low. In his eyes, I'm just a side dish. Xiaohua thought to himself. Now, I'm afraid I have to lure Ji Peng into my Naiwan palace and think of another way. Xiaohua knew that he was a golden core cultivator. His soul had already solidified. Ji Peng definitely wouldn't dare to rush into his soul to possess him. He was confident that he would first occupy Xiaohua's Naiwan palace and gradually nibble away at it. Only then would he have a chance to succeed. Just as Xiaohua was thinking, Ji Peng grabbed with his hand again. The black gas and wisps of blood wrapped around Zhang Qingxiao fell into his blood-red hand. Zhang Qingxiao's figure appeared in mid-air. At that moment, Zhang Qingxiao looked very lonely. Her previous arrogant aura was long gone. Her hands drooped slightly, and her face was extremely pale. As for her eyes, they were looking at the blood below her. She didn't dare to look at Ji Peng at all. Evil creature. Ji Peng didn't let Zhang Qingxiao off. He scolded. I thought that you were developing well in the Cultivation 3 Kingdoms. That's why I sent a wisp of my spirit to follow Qing Xian to see you. I wanted to give you some benefits. However, I didn't expect that you would actually forget everything this sovereign told you, and even want to kill this sovereign. You're really bold. Zhang Qingxiao lowered her head and didn't answer. Don't think that I'll forgive you just because I'm satisfied with what you've done. Ji Peng continued to berate her. Since I can turn you from a demonic beast into a human, I can naturally turn you from a human into a demonic beast. Even a secular animal. As he spoke, Ji Peng grabbed with his hand. Streaks of blood flashed from his hand and shot towards Zhang Qingxiao's body. Roar! A strange roar came from Zhang Qingxiao's mouth. She raised her head. Her fearful eyes flashed with shock and anger. Then, she looked at Xiaohua. Her eyes flashed with determination. -11.